This page is the front cover of the magazine, as you can tell by the classic Nintendo logo at the top, big and bold, just how we liked it back then. Official, always first, biggest and best. They weren't wrong, were they? The main focus is clearly Mortal Kombat 4, huge first play it says, with a rather menacing looking chap, probably Shinnok, right there in your face. Below that we've got Conker 64 new shots for 12 Tales, which later became Conker's Bad Fur Day. A bit of a different game to what was expected from the look of that squirrel on the cover, eh? There's also a first ever review for Banjo-Kazooie, which we all knew was going to be a banger, didn't we? Down at the bottom, Jet Force Gemini, first ever shots of this new game, and Perfect Dark, the game you must play. Strong words. It's got all the usual magazine blurb, news and previews, game guides, every N64 game tested, that sort of thing, and a Club Mario section on page 83 for those interested. £2.95, not bad for all that N64 goodness back in the day. The next page is a full-page advert for Yoshi's Story on the N64. Right at the top you've got the Nintendo 64 logo, just to remind you what console this is all for. Then it's got these little captions with pictures, like eat fruit with a bunch of grapes, and lay eggs with a Yoshi egg. Pretty self-explanatory stuff if you know Yoshi games, eh? Save the World is underneath a picture of Yoshi himself, looking a bit thoughtful, bless him. Then you've got the game's logo, Yoshi's Story, in that bright, colourful style they went for. It's described as a psychedelic, surrealistic rumble pack, jigging crazy patchwork quilt of an adventure, which is a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Bit flowery for a game about a dinosaur eating fruit, if you ask me. Hatching this Easter, it says, so we knew when to expect it. And of course it wouldn't be a Nintendo ad without a bit of boasting, claiming the N64 is the fastest, most powerful games console on Earth. Standard marketing spiel, but back then, we actually believed it. It's a simple, colourful ad, really pushing the Yoshi angle and the Easter release. Probably aimed at the younger end of the N64 crowd, I reckon. This magazine page from July 1998, issue 70, proudly proclaims itself as the UK's biggest-selling Nintendo 64 and Nintendo mag. It highlights key promises, exclusive game previews, reliable screenshots, and practical tips. The team photo gives off a casual, lads mag vibe. Contact information includes an address in London's Isle of Dogs, and phone numbers for reader tips and magazine availability. A sneak peek at content reveals coverage of Mortal Kombat 4, Banjo-Kazooie, with its first review, and World Cup 98. A free tips book is also offered. The page utilizes Nintendo 64 and Game Boy logos to emphasize its focus. The overall aim is to entice readers with the latest N64 gaming news and a sense of community. This magazine cover highlights Mortal Kombat 4 as its main feature, promising a detailed preview with information on gameplay, characters, and reader opinions. The cover also boasts a game news section, showcasing anticipated titles like Perfect Dark, Jet Force Gemini, Legend of Zelda, and Conker 64, along with other games. This section promises first and best news, and directs readers to page 92 for more information. Additionally, the magazine includes a Club Mario section, inviting readers to contribute letters, artwork, and photos. The overall layout is designed to entice readers with previews and news. Warranters. This magazine issue highlights Perfect Dark, boasting early screenshots and claiming it will surpass GoldenEye. The reviews section covers a range of N64 titles, including the acclaimed Banjo-Kazooie, the dodgy Aero Fighters Assault, and Wayne Gretzky's Hockey 98. Game Boy gets a mention with Legend of River King and Mortal Kombat, and Rampage World Tour is described as a daft eat-em-up. Bust-A-Move 2 provides puzzle action. A total test section promises scores for various Nintendo games. Game guides offer assistance for GoldenEye, Quake Multiplayer, Mystical Ninja, and Forsaken. A free World Cup 98 guide is included. Finally, a giveaway named Blagfest offers Forsaken, Dual Heroes, Nintendo accessories, and game boxes, promising free prizes. This page is all about Mortal Kombat 4, to give it its proper name. It's billed as a big game, and they're saying it's the first ever look, and played to death with loads of fatalities, which is what you expect from Mortal Kombat in it. The N64's been crying out for a decent beat-em-up, and they reckon the gloves are gonna get one. The game info box tells us it's a 3D beat-em-up from GT Interactive, and it's due out in August. They're calling it the return of the Fight Fest, and reckon after a bit of a dodgy N64 debut for the series, this one's gonna be the best MK yet. They mention it's in full 3D arenas, with loads of new warriors wanting a piece of the action. Apparently there are new features like weapons and throwable objects, plus a fresh batch of fatalities. They're even saying Mortal Kombat 4 could be the beat-em-up of the year, and they've got the first ever full play, so they're clearly quite hyped. There's a screenshot of a scrap between Liu Kang and Scorpion, classic matchup. The caption reads, "Get ready to rumble." Right, yeah. MK4 makes its big comeback bout on the N64. There'll be tears. Sounds like they're expecting it to be a proper comeback for the series on the N64. Let's hope it lives up to the hype, eh? This page is continuing the Mortal Kombat 4 hype. It's still being pushed as a big game for the N64, which it probably was at the time as beat-em-ups were always popular. They're saying it's a decent beat-em-up, at long last, implying the N64 needed a good one, which is fair enough. There weren't loads of top-tier fighters on the system up to this point. The picture is a close-up of some bloke, with spikes on his head looking a bit angry, clearly a new character for MK4. Down at the bottom there's a small screenshot showing Sub-Zero giving Liu Kang a taste of his icy breath, or whatever it is they call it. The caption says, Sub-Zero cools Liu Kang down with a vicious icicle attack, and then some over-the-top line about, Zero's chilled but the game's hot hot hot. Bit much really, but that's marketing for you. They're clearly still trying to build up the excitement for Mortal Kombat 4 on the N64, reckon they're really hoping it's going to be a big hit. This review of Mortal Kombat 4 focuses on its release as a big game. While acknowledging the game's likely impact at the time, it critiques the plot as daft and long-winded, a typical assessment for the series. The core appeal lies in its violent gameplay, emphasized by the return of fatalities and stage fatalities, with the humor of previous installments toned down. The review highlights the game's modes: Arcade, offering typical fighting tower challenges; Team, for team battles; Endurance, for multiple consecutive fights; and Tournament, supporting up to 8 players. Screenshots showcase gameplay and menus, but the overall impression is of standard Mortal Kombat fare. The conclusion presents MK4 as the anticipated premier beat-em-up for the N64. Mortal Kombat 4 on the N64 is highlighted, emphasizing its 3D special moves and the impact they have. Raiden is featured, shown wielding a mallet and unleashing lightning. The article also discusses the Rumble Pack, which vibrated during hits, enhancing the gameplay experience. The Choose Your Destiny Battle Tower mode with various difficulty levels is mentioned, catering to different player skill levels. The article concludes by hyping MK4 as the best N64 fighter, with testimonials from combat-crazy fans who consider themselves hardcore gamers. Mortal Kombat 4 features 15 playable characters, including 7 newcomers. Classic characters like Kano, Baraka, Mileena, and Kung Lao are absent. The game also hints at hidden characters. The page highlights several fighters. Kai, a White Lotus Society member, wields a machete and has a head explosion fatality. Shinnok, the Netherrealm ruler, uses a bladed staff and a two-hand smash fatality. Jarek, of the Black Dragon, fights with a scimitar and an eye laser fatality. Returning characters include Reptile, Battle Axe, Acid Spit fatality, Scorpion, Broadsword, Fire Breath fatality, Liu Kang, Jagged Sword, Dragon Swirl fatality, and Sub-Zero, Freeze Wand, Deep Freeze fatality. The roster offers a blend of familiar and new faces, promising plenty of fatalities. This magazine spread previews 8 characters from Mortal Kombat 4. Quan Chi, a sorcerer, wields a mace and has a mimic fatality. Fujin, a former guard, uses a crossbow with a windskinner fatality. Tanya, a mysterious fighter, uses a boomerang with a neckbreak fatality. Reiko, a general, uses a club with a shuriken fury fatality. Jax, a major, uses a club with a head clap fatality. Raiden, the protector, uses a mallet with an impalement electrocution fatality. Sonya, a lieutenant, uses a blade wheel with an exploding kiss fatality. Finally, Cage, an actor, uses a scimitar with a torso rip fatality. Each character profile highlights a special move and a fatality, offering a glimpse into their gameplay. Mortal Kombat 4 for the N64 features controls mirroring the arcade version, recommending the D-pad over the analog stick for precision. Basic moves like projectiles, sidesteps, blocking, kicks, punches and running are detailed. The game's shift to 3D allows for sidestepping but lacks camera rotation, limiting player perspective. A new weapon system introduces character-specific weapons accessible through special moves. weapons can be knocked away and picked up. The review highlights weapon effects and stage objects, enhancing the 3D combat experience. The reviewer grant praises the new characters and the return of classic fighters, particularly favoring Sonya Blade for her speed. Jog. This Game Boy ad for Rally Championship Edition uses humor to grab attention. It features a wrecked car and a police report blaming the driver's accident on being engrossed in the game. The driver's statement claims he didn't see it coming because he was playing Rally. The ad highlights the game's features: 10 cars per race, diverse international locations, a dynamic camera, variable weather, 23D tracks, and 3 difficulty levels. The ad proudly shows the blocky graphics typical of the Game Boy, suggesting a comprehensive rally racing experience on the go. Published by Ocean, the ad campaign is cheeky, using the fictional accident to promote the game. Mortal Kombat 4 on the N64 is the focus of this magazine article. The game emphasizes enhanced graphics and excessive gore, as is typical for the series. Richard says, highlights the ease of special moves once mastered, while Danny says praises the weapon system. Though he struggles to remember the controls, a cheat code for weapon combat is offered. The article highlights the increased blood and gore, promising even more than previous installments, including the ability to knock opponents into the screen with weapons. The In the Zone section discusses the backgrounds, featuring all arcade stages plus a new one, contributing to a dark atmosphere. 5 stages are detailed, including the Shaolin Temple and the Living Forest, with descriptions of their unique environments. Overall, the game is presented as a standard Mortal Kombat experience, amplified for the N64, with a focus on gore, weapons, and enhanced stage design. This page showcases Mortal Kombat 4 with a section called Combo Crazy, all about stringing together attacks. They're highlighting the combo system, saying it's like the best beat-em-ups and how these combos can really batter your opponent, taking off a decent chunk of their health bar, like 40% in one go apparently. There's a bit about how Goro is laying a right smackdown on Liu Kang, with blood splattering all over the shop in beautifully rendered 3D, which, well, it was at the time, wasn't it? They even joke about Liu Kang needing a blood transfusion. Classic Mortal Kombat over-the-top gore. They've got a step-by-step guide to a combo: punch to the head followed by 2 savage kicks, encouraging readers to have a go if they reckon they're hard enough. And of course they mention Quan Chi and Shinnok are waiting to challenge you, setting the scene for the game's villains. It's all pretty standard Mortal Kombat fare, ramped up for the N64 with more gore and combo focus, just like they mentioned before, proper digitized brawling action for its time. This review fondly remembers classic Mortal Kombat before focusing on MK4. Mortal Kombat Trilogy, the first N64 beat-em-up, received a harsh 56% due to its similarity to Super NES versions. Sub-Zero, MK Mythologies fared worse at 46%, criticized as a disappointing scrolling beat-em-up. The review praises MK4's return to brutal fatalities, ditching the humorous ones, with each character sporting 2 violent finishing moves and stage fatalities. Screenshots showcase gruesome decapitations. The N64 version finally offers an arcade-accurate experience, matching the speed and characters, with some undisclosed extras. The reviewer highlights the improved rendering and speed of the N64 version and praises the arcade-like experience at home, deeming it better than the arcade due to gameplay improvements and the lack of having to constantly pay to play. This article previews Mortal Kombat 4, highlighting new features like killer codes, which allow players to customize 2-player battles with codes for effects like one-hit win, explosive combat, and red rain. The piece also details brutal fatalities, including Scorpion's sting and Reiko's shuriken. Merchandise related to the franchise is also discussed, including the pretty good Mortal Kombat movie, a less exciting animated film, and a comic book with character profiles and a collectible badge. The article concludes with a positive outlook on the N64 version of MK4, predicting it will be the best beat-em-up on the console, with exciting moves, new characters, and violent fatalities. A competition to win early access to N64 games is mentioned as well. This magazine's game reviews use a strict scoring system, with scores below 44 considered poor, and above 90 earning an awesome award. The Nintendo 64 section features reviews for Aero Fighters Assault, Buster Move 2, Rampage World Tour, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. Game Boy reviews include Mortal Kombat 1+2 and Legend of River King. The highlight of the page is the first ever review of Banjo-Kazooie, which receives the Awesome Award. The game, priced at £49.99 and requiring a Rumble Pack, is hyped as a potential summer blockbuster, showcasing Rare's talent. Dare you? This page is all about Banjo-Kazooie, carrying on from the review that gave it top marks. It's like they're really pushing this game, saying it could be the best game on the N64. Rightly so, mind you, it was pretty special back then. Checkaway. The page is splashed with a massive picture of Banjo-Kazooie and that ugly witch Gruntilda. Text says it's blooming marvelous and just what the N64 needs, which is a bit strong, but it was a looker for its time, I'll give them that. They mention puzzles and weird characters, which is bang on. Rare knew how to make a world that felt properly alive, or as alive as pixels could be back then. There are little boxes with screenshots, one showing Gruntilda in the opening scene, plotting to steal Kenty's beauty. Bit creepy when you think about it. Another shows the game's select screen with the save slots, and it even points out that in the third slot, Banjo's playing a Game Boy, a nice little touch. Those Rare chaps were clever. They're really hammering home that this game is a must-have. It's a fair shout. Banjo-Kazooie was a proper classic and definitely stood out amongst the other platformers at the time. Spiral Mountain, the training world in Banjo-Kazooie, introduces players to the game's mechanics. This area, described as a place to train to become the best adventurer, guides players through essential actions like jumping, swimming, diving, waterfall climbing, and tree climbing, all with the help of Bottles the Mole. The game also highlights the importance of collecting various items. These include jigsaw pieces to unlock new worlds, musical notes to open doors in Gruntilda's lair, Jinjos, and gold feathers for temporary invincibility. The game encourages players to hunt far and wide for these items, reflecting the engaging collectathon gameplay that contributed to Banjo-Kazooie's charm. This page from the Banjo-Kazooie review section is all about how Banjo and Kazooie work together as a team. It runs through some of the key moves you'll pick up, like swimming using the 3D stick and buttons, and firing eggs, with Kazooie doing the spitting from Banjo's backpack, of course. They also highlight the shock spring jump, stilt stride, using those wellies, and flying, all crucial for exploration. They rightly mention meeting Bottles early on in Spiral Mountain after you leave Banjo's house. He's the helpful mole trainer, as we know from the Training World intro. Learning to Kill covers the beak barge for combat and smashing boulders. Fairly standard platforming stuff, but Banjo-Kazooie does it with its own style. The Veggie Patch bit mentions the giant veggies. That's the funniest part of the training area according to the page. The review also praises the game's looks, noting the attention to detail, gorgeous worlds and colorful characters, proper pure class as they put it. Down at the bottom they cover pickups, red feathers for better flying, honeycombs for health, eggs as weapons and for puzzles, and mumbo tokens for transformations. It's a solid summary of the core elements that made Banjo-Kazooie such a cracking game back in the day. Gruntilda's lair, the central hub of Banjo-Kazooie, is a sprawling area connecting all game worlds. Navigating this complex lair requires exploration, and the review suggests it might be confusing at first. Beyond collecting musical notes and jigsaw pieces, you'll encounter enemies. Early on, you can find a gold jigsaw piece on a rooftop platform. The game utilizes note doors, requiring a specific number of musical notes to unlock new levels, a hallmark of Rare's collectathon style. The review introduces the main characters: Banjo, the cuddly honey bear; Kazooie, the hot-headed red Braygull; Tooty, Banjo's kidnapped sister; and Bottles, the helpful mole who provides tips to aid your quest. This review focuses on Mumbo Jumbo's role in Banjo-Kazooie. He transforms Banjo into various animals, crucial for accessing hidden jigsaw pieces. Players use Mumbo tokens to transform, activating the magic with the B button. Transformations showcased include a crocodile for underwater travel and a walrus form. This mechanic adds variety to platforming. The review also introduces characters: Gruntilda, the antagonist, who kidnaps Tooty, and Brentilda, Gruntilda's helpful sister. Mumbo Jumbo has a backstory as Gruntilda's former teacher. The Sounds section praises the music, calling it catchy and of top-notch Rare quality. The opening sequence music is highlighted as well, mirroring the game. This review provides a timed walkthrough for Banjo-Kazooie's Mumbo's Mountain. Within the first 5 minutes, players should collect Jinjos and notes. At 10 minutes they should know the Talon Trot. By 15 minutes, the Beak Buster should be mastered. At the 20-minute mark, the orange is acquired. 25 minutes means egg throwing and Mumbo tokens. Finally, at 30 minutes, Spider Transformation and Termite Hill exploration are expected. The review also highlights minigames. These include fighting Mr. Vile the Croc in Bubblegloop Swamp, hoop swimming in Clanker's Cavern, and bird swooping in Gobi's Valley. A first tip suggests finding a honeycomb piece on Mumbo's Mountain by using the flap flip. This page is a cracking poster for Banjo-Kazooie. Right on. You've got Banjo the bear and Kazooie the bird front and center, looking like they are about to leap right off the page. Free poster it says at the top, which is always a nice little bonus in the mag back in the day, eh? And there's the big N64 logo, reminding you what console this gem is for, not that you could forget. Given the previous page had that timed walkthrough for Mumbo's Mountain, this is clearly all about pushing Banjo-Kazooie, and why not? It was a proper must-have game back then. Still holds up alright even now, to be fair. Just a nice big colourful image to stick on your bedroom wall. Simple as. This review compares Banjo-Kazooie to Super Mario 64. Banjo-Kazooie impresses from the start with a cinematic intro. While Mario 64's graphics are decent, Banjo-Kazooie excels in details like water effects. Banjo-Kazooie is praised for having a richer cast of characters compared to Mario's more solitary adventure. Banjo's gameplay offers more moves thanks to Kazooie. Even idle animations are more engaging in Banjo. The review highlights Banjo's complex puzzles, like the Treasure Trove Cove and Bubblegloop Swamp challenges. Finally, it praises the challenging mini-bosses, such as Conga, solidifying Banjo-Kazooie's advantage in this comparison. This page is dedicated to Banjo-Kazooie, highlighting its strengths and gameplay details. It covers areas like Clanker's Cavern underwater exploration, puzzles in Gobi's Valley, including cryptic hints about a pyramid, and strategies for defeating Nipper the Crab. The review also mentions the game over screen, noting to Teddy's monstrous transformation. The game is praised for its length and challenging puzzles. The page culminates in a 96% score, an awesome badge, and a declaration of the Game of the Year. A reader call for opinions to be sent in, and a preview of next month's issue, with a free tips book for finding jiggies, round out the coverage. Aero Fighters Assault, Sonic Wings Assault, for the N64 is a 3D shoot-'em-up, receiving a lukewarm review. The game features authentic planes, large bosses, some well-designed, and multiplayer/rumble pack support. Despite its standard gameplay, it lacks visual detail, especially compared to other N64 titles. The review highlights in-game action, including a boss battle with a robot walker and dogfights. The HUD and radar are also mentioned, indicating standard flight sim features. The game's story involves Antarctica's destruction and a global takeover plot by Fata Morgana. Released at a price of £49.99, the reviewer finds it a decent shooter. It's not groundbreaking yet a solid blast for fans of plane games. This page carries on with the review of Aero Fighters Assault, or Sonic Wings Assault as it's also known, for the N64. It delves into the game's mechanics a bit more, highlighting deadly specials which every plane has, from supersonic loops to rudder reversals. Apparently you need to master them all if you want to finish the mission. They detail two of these moves, the Culbit for the FSX and Su-35 which involves some button combo, and the rudder reversal for the F-14 and a 10, which sounds a bit easier, just brake and press a button twice. There's a beat the bosses section, saying they aren't too hard and have weak spots. The Leviathan submarine boss is mentioned as a good-looking one, and the tip is to attack it from the front or back. Game length is criticized, saying two-player deathmatch is unexciting, and single-player bosses are too easy, so it's all over quickly. Sounds get a mixed reaction, with praise for crystal clear speech and explosions, but cockpit effects and beeps being annoying. The game gets a fairly dismal score of 54% from Nintendo Official Magazine. The reviewer reckons it's a half-hearted effort and not an improvement on Pilotwings 64, which is a bit harsh maybe, but Pilotwings 64 was something special back then. They basically say even flight sim fans won't get their money's worth, and to leave it on the runway. Ouch. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 for N64 is reviewed. The game aims for improvement, with a focus on competitive gameplay and tougher goalies. Screenshots showcase team selection, face-offs, and in-game action. The review notes NHL accuracy, but recommends the game primarily for dedicated hockey fans. Gameplay includes quick matches, arcade mode, beat 25 teams, and season mode, 82-game season. Priced at £44.99, it releases May 29th, utilizing Memory Pack and Rumble Pack. The conclusion suggests it's a worthwhile purchase for hockey enthusiasts. This page continues the review of Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. Visually they reckon it's a cracker, very close to the arcade machines and players looking solid and realistic, which for the time, they were pretty decent polygonal efforts, weren't they? The review then talks about the 5-on-5 setup, saying they've dropped the old 3-on-3, which was a bit of a departure originally. Now it's more like proper ice hockey, and apparently tempers can flare if you get a bit too rough. Which, well, it's hockey, isn't it? Sound-wise, apparently players moan when they get flattened, and the crowd gets lively when things heat up. They also have a little dig at the cheesy American commentator, which I suppose was part of the charm or lack thereof, depending on your taste. There's a first tip box advising to use the top or bottom of the rink to break out and pass, and to shoot before your mate and the goalie have time to react. Standard hockey tactics, really. Lastly, there's a section on playoff mode, suggesting you can jump straight to the knockout stages against top teams from all the conferences. They advise practicing, if you're a bit rusty before going for the cup. Makes sense. And there's a little screenshot of the playoff bracket showing some games and scores. Looks like Pittsburgh's not having a good time of it. This review of Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 provides gameplay tips, highlighting improved goalie performance. It details basic scoring moves and explains offside and icing rules for new players. The review suggests that single-player seasons might become tedious, but multiplayer, especially team play, is where the game shines. Different camera angles are discussed, with the low side view recommended. The review then branches out, mentioning other N64 American sports games. It praises NFL Quarterback Club and NFL Blitz for football, NBA Pro 98 and NBA Courtside for basketball, and anticipates All-Star Baseball 99 and MLB, featuring Ken Griffey Jr. for baseball, and NFL Baseball. Ultimately, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 receives an 81%, described as a good but not exceptional game, possibly losing some of the arcade fun of its predecessor. This advertisement for GT64 Championship Edition on the N64 attempts to portray the game as a serious, professional racing experience, emphasizing official contracts and team orders. The ad copy highlights racing realism and incredible graphics, though the visual quality is now dated. The main image features a stylized black and white race scene. Small screenshots showcase the game's functional, albeit basic, N64 interface. The tagline, "Until the lights go green," and "Can you pass the N64 driving test?" or further push the serious racing angle. The ad, typical of the late 90s, includes a quote from Total 64 magazine and logos from Ocean, Imagineer, and Nintendo 64. This page is an advert for Match magazine. Blimey, haven't seen that in ages. Classic footy mag, promising the best World Cup coverage. Of course they are, aren't they always? Big Alan Shearer's slapped right on the front, ready to lead England's World Cup challenge. Well, he was a decent striker back then, you gotta give him that. This showing off a stack of their recent issues, bragging about who's been on the cover. Looks like your usual suspects. Man United, Liverpool, even Celtic getting a look in. They've got little blurbs for each cover, like Man United, Gary Pallister bounces back, and Liverpool, the new Reds kit unveiled. Thrilling stuff. Blackburn, Jeff Kenner's year with Rovers. Wow, Jeff Kenner, that takes me back. And Celtic, how they won the Premier. Probably talking about the Scottish Premier League there. Blimey, they're even giving away a free World Cup guide and Premiership pullout, and 9 totally flash football posters. Wow, posters, eh? Every schoolboy's dream back then. And all for 90p, on sale every week. Bargain basement prices for your football fix. It was the magazine to get if you wanted to know about football back then, wasn't it? Every kid had one. This page is an advert for GT64 Championship Edition, one of those N64 racing games. It's trying to be a bit clever, styled up like some official driver's contract. Always be considerate for the safety of other competitors, it says. Then right underneath, unless they're in front of you. Subtle. They're banging on about having 12 tracks and licensed teams, reckons it'll drive you into pure gameplay-related ecstasy. Bit strong that, isn't it? Apparently you can set up your car how you want, and be amazed by the fastest 3D engine. Standard stuff for the time, really. There are a few screenshots showing the game in action and the logos for Nintendo, Imagineer and Ocean. They're asking, can you pass the N64 driving test? And apparently N64 Pro magazine reckons it's the best racing game on the N64. Well, each to their own, eh? This Game Boy review covers 2 games. Mortal Kombat 1+2, squeezed onto one cartridge for £19.99, receives an 80% rating despite visual limitations and is praised for its on-the-go fatalities. The review notes, the game plays well and features chunky pixel graphics, making it a decent portable version. Contrastingly, Fishing Fun, Legend of the River King, is a fishing game priced at £24.99 with an unknown release date. The review describes basic fishing mechanics and the ability to raise Tamagotchi fish. It's awarded a 72% rating, aimed at fishing enthusiasts only, calling it a surprisingly good laugh, despite the reviewer's possible boredom following Mortal Kombat. This page is an advert for GT64 Championship Edition on the N64. It's playing on the official driving contract theme, telling you not to overtake under yellow flags, but then cheekily suggesting, undertake. It's quicker in big letters, which is a bit naughty for a driving sim, isn't it? There's a chalk drawing style image of some cars racing, looks like a bit of a night race maybe. They've got a quote from the official Nintendo magazine calling it the best racing sim on the N64, which is a bold claim. Down below they're highlighting features like real-time weather, damageable cars, and pit stops, trying to sell it as a proper racing experience. There are also some screenshots showing off the in-game graphics and HUD. The tagline at the bottom asks, "Can you pass the N64 driving test?" It's a bit of a standard racing game advert from the time, trying to sound serious but hinting at some cheeky arcade fun too. Rampage World Tour on the N64 is a straightforward port of the classic arcade game. The plot involves three monsters, George, Lizzie, and Ralph, created by a chemical explosion, wreaking havoc on cities worldwide. The reviewer praises the game's perfect conversion to the N64, despite the game's age. Gameplay involves smashing buildings, helicopters, and racking up scores. The controls are simple, with Z for climbing, B for punching, and C for kicking. The game supports 3-player co-op. The review notes, the sounds are adequate, with monster grunts and smashes, while the visuals, though faithful to the arcade, are considered visually uninspiring for the N64. Overall, it's a fun, classic arcade experience, but it doesn't push the console's capabilities. The review criticizes Rampage World Tour on 64 for its short game length and repetitive gameplay, which, while potentially fun in arcades, quickly becomes boring. The review details tips on eating humans, humorously noting they taste delicious, while warning about the humans' explosive counterattacks. Screenshots depict the monster George consuming humans. Ultimately, the game receives a low score of 53%, with the reviewer dismissing it as outdated and unappealing. On the adjacent page, an advertisement promotes Earthworm Jim 3D, a multi-platform release, N64, PC, PlayStation, scheduled for autumn '98. The ad highlights Jim's 3D appearance and Interplay's involvement, positioning it as a major upcoming title. This is a review of Bust-A-Move 2, Puzzle Bobble, for the N64, hailing it as one of the best puzzle games on the system, comparable to Tetrisphere and Weetrix. The review praises the game's addictive nature, mind-bending puzzles, and cute, baby dinos. The game features one player and a highly regarded two-player mode. The review notes the game's standard price of £39.99 upon release, and mentions the need for a memory pack and rumble pack. Gameplay involves matching colored bubbles to pop them, with matches of 4 or more sending bubbles to your opponent in two-player mode. Bouncing bubbles off the walls is key. The review describes the visuals as Sesame Street with bug-eyed cuties. The sound is said to be engaging, potentially utilizing the rumble pack. The review concludes that the game is a top-tier puzzle title for the N64, suitable for all players. The review for Bust-A-Move 2 highlights its dinosaur characters, a crossover event featuring characters from various Nintendo games, including Diddy Kong Racing, Turok, Yoshi's Story, and Rampage World Tour. The single-player mode is considered less impressive, but the two-player mode is praised for its longevity. Tips are offered for two-player tricks, like strategic bubble combinations. The game receives an 84% score from Nintendo Official Magazine, acknowledging its quality as a puzzle game, while suggesting it's showing its age, despite being newly released. The review concludes by recommending the game for puzzle enthusiasts, especially for its engaging multiplayer experience. This webpage is a time capsule of late 90s competitions, heavily promoting premium-rate phone calls for a chance to win prizes. The main draw is Nintendo gear, including N64 consoles and games, with bonus prizes like PlayStations and PCs. Beyond gaming, the contests offer World Cup final tickets, signed England shirts, and a Titanic collection. Many competitions offer instant win opportunities, while others involve answering questions or playing fictional games. Prizes range from TVS and mountain bikes to a snooker table, and the classic CD player in a Coke can. The page targets gamers with a desire for new tech. However, a crucial detail is the fine print warning of calls costing up to £3. A stark reminder of the era's premium rate pitfalls. This month's Total Test section of Nintendo magazine, guided by Yoshi, focuses on Nintendo games and accessories, promising expert reviews and monthly updates. The section features snippets highlighting various products like rumble packs and steering wheels, alongside sections for Game Boy, rental charts, and N64 tips. There are deals on games, top 10 lists, and a most wanted section. The magazine teases the game Forsaken, with a review on page 47, and details its scoring system, 0 to 100, with an awesome award for games scoring over 90%. Reviews of Banjo-Kazooie and others are also included. A picture of a futuristic woman on a bike, possibly from Forsaken, accompanies the reviews, with the magazine aiming to be honest in their reviews. Issue 43 is noted at the bottom of the page. This month's Total Test section, reviewed by Yoshi, evaluates N64 games using a 0 to 100 scoring system. Aerogauge received a low 51%, criticized for poor tracks. Blastcore scored 81%, praised for its explosions and puzzles. Bomberman 64 got 73%, with positive comments about the 3D gameplay, though its multiplayer was less impressive. Duke Nukem 64 earned an awesome 91% for its action, weapons, and humor, despite the multiplayer not being as good as other games. Diddy Kong Racing also got an awesome 94%, lauded for its gameplay, graphics, and variety. The Most Wanted section highlighted anticipation for Banjo-Kazooie, Mortal Kombat 4, and NBA Courtside. This review focuses on Rumble Packs and 64 games. The Nintendo Rumble Pack is considered the best, with the Joytech Advanced a close second. Game reviews begin with Cruisin' USA, which receives a low score due to poor music and sound. Doom 64 fares much better, praised for its levels and action. Dark Rift, a futuristic fighter, is visually appealing but suffers from repetitive gameplay. Dual Heroes, another fighting game, is heavily criticized. GoldenEye 007 is the star, lauded as the best multiplayer console game ever, scoring a near-perfect 94%. Chameleon Twist is deemed too easy, and has issues in multiplayer. Clayfighter 63 1/3 is heavily criticized for poor animation and controls, considered one of the worst N64 games. This N64 gaming review covers racing wheels and games. The review tests various racing wheels like the Top Gear Spectra Video, Best, VR Accelerator, Poor Handling, and Performer Platinum Sound, Cheap. FIFA 98, Road to World Cup receives a glowing 90% for its features. Extreme G, a futuristic racer, scores 84%, praised for its fast-paced gameplay but criticized for multiplayer. F1 Pole Position, 64 disappoints with a 70% score, citing slow gameplay and poor graphics. Extras includes recommended accessories like a SCART lead for improved picture quality, a record bag, and a carry case for the console. This month's N64 reviews feature a mix of genres. Fighter's Destiny receives a strong 90%, praised for its focus on special moves and throws. Forsaken, a bounty hunter game with robot combat, earns a high 92% for its weapons and boss battles, despite control challenges. FIFA 64 disappoints with a 67%, criticized for its lackluster gameplay. GT Club Championship Edition gets 85%, with a focus on realistic car handling. Hexen 64 struggles with a 50%, due to poor graphics and boring gameplay. A sidebar lists the famous 5 fighters, including Fighter's Destiny, though it appears twice. This page reviews Game Boy puzzle games and accessories, alongside a brief look at N64 titles. Highlighted Game Boy puzzle games include Tetris Attack, 94%, Buster Move 2, 92%, Zoop, Pac Panic, both in the 80s, and Mario's Picross, 85%. All were single-player experiences. Essential Game Boy gear mentioned includes a pocket light magnifier, a pocket adapter for travel, and a Game Boy wallet. The N64 section features Killer Instinct Gold, 80%, described as a space fighter with good training features. Mace, The Dark Age, 79%, a gory fighting game, and Madden Football 64, 89%, praised for its commentary and stats, although Quarterback Club is suggested to be a better play. This page reviews several N64 titles, offering blunt opinions. International Superstar Soccer 64 and Lilac Wars, Star Fox 64, both score highly at 93%, praised for their addictive football gameplay and thrilling space shooter action respectively. Mario Kart 64 is a hit, achieving a 90% rating and lauded as the best kart racer. Multi-Racing Championship earns 83% for its fast-paced rally gameplay. Mischief Makers, a unique platformer, receives 80%. However, Mortal Kombat Trilogy struggles with a 56% due to its crude gameplay, and Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero is heavily criticized, getting a low 36%. This article reviews N64 games and highlights retail deals. Shops like BT's, HMV, Electronics Boutique, and Game offered discounts on titles like Doom, Duke Nukem 3D, Hexen 64, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey. The reviews start with Nagano Winter Olympics 98-80%, a decent winter sports compilation, praised for snowboarding and skiing, but criticized for a dull single-player mode. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, 90%, is an action-adventure with puzzles, highlighted for its variety and giant robot sequences. NBA Pro 98-85% earns praise as the best N64 basketball game, focusing on tactics and detailed gameplay. NBA Hangtime, 75%, a frantic arcade conversion, offers over-the-top moves and player customization. Lastly, NHL Breakaway 98-88% is a realistic ice hockey sim, emphasizing tactics and season play. This page covers N64 gaming, focusing on jungle-themed levels in games like GoldenEye and Donkey Kong 64, and reviews memory packs used for saving game progress. The memory pack section details storage sizes and reviews various brands, from Nintendo's controller pack to third-party options, highlighting price points and functionality. The page also reviews several N64 games. Robotron is praised for its fast pace but criticized for potential boredom. Olympic Hockey receives positive marks for multiplayer, but is deemed less engaging solo. Pilotwings 64 earns praise for its open world but requires patience. San Francisco Rush is criticized for its handling, while Shadows of the Empire, a Star Wars game, is recommended only for devoted fans. The reviews offer a varied assessment of the N64 library, showcasing the console's diverse game selection. This review explores various alternative N64 controllers, catering to the era's market for diverse designs. The controllers are evaluated based on their suitability for different game genres and price points. Standouts include the SharkPad Pro 64 for platformers, the Competition Pro for its D-pad and shoulder buttons, and the SuperPad 64 Plus for value. Other options include the LX4, cheap and cheerful, the Trident Pad, functional but basic, and the pricey but excellent Arcade Shark for fighting games. The official N64 controller is predictably praised. The review also highlights the MacaPad and SuperPad 64 for left-handed gamers and specific genre suitability. The page concludes with a light-hearted list of top 5 horror hair characters from various N64 games. This retro total tests page highlights N64 game reviews. Snowboard Kids, with an 81%, offers cute snowboarders and pickups but may get boring. NFL Quarterback Club 98 scores a 91% for its graphics and gameplay. Tetrisphere, a 3D Tetris variant, gets an 86% for its addictive qualities. Quake receives a 92% for its monster-blasting action. Top Gear Rally, an 85%, offers realistic rally racing. Wave Race 64, an 83%, features jet skis and impressive water effects. The UK chart reveals World Cup 98 in the top spot, followed by GoldenEye and Yoshi's Story. There's also a contest to win a Chrome memory pack by predicting the next top 10, sponsored by HMV. This N64 review highlights several top titles. WCW vs. NWO World Tour earns an 86%, praised for its 3D wrestling action, variety of fighters and weapons, though it suffers from slowdown. Super Mario 64 receives a near-perfect 95%, lauded as an ultimate platformer with secrets, bosses, and minigames. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey scores an 81%, offering accessible ice hockey action with strong multiplayer and sound. Turok: Dinosaur Hunter gets a 90%, described as Doom with dinosaurs, featuring massive weapons and a top-notch soundtrack. Yoshi's Story rounds it out with an 88%, praised for its charming characters, music and gameplay. The rental chart is topped by GoldenEye. Following are WCW vs NWO, World Cup 98, Mario 64, Yoshi's Story, and Quake. Cool rentals include World Cup 98, Fighter's Destiny and Weetrix. This page reviews N64 soccer games, comparing FIFA 64, ISS 64, FIFA, Road to World Cup 98, and World Cup 98. FIFA 64, the first title, suffers from slow controls and limited replay value. IS 64, praised for its graphics, strategic depth, and overall satisfaction, is the standout. FIFA, Road to World Cup 98 offers improved graphics and commentary, but has some gameplay issues. World Cup 98, with its World Cup focus, extensive features, and multiplayer options, is the top choice. The review also includes a brief mention of Weetrix, a puzzle game similar to Tetris with 3D graphics and water effects, getting a 90% rating. This page is the front cover of Computer and Video Games magazine, issue 200. Looks like they are celebrating a milestone. It's July 98, still only costing you £1.50 back then. The main game being pushed is Body Harvest for the N64, big yellow letters screaming out violence and gore. They are really playing up the fact it's from the makers of Grand Theft Auto, which was still a pretty big deal at the time. That first GTA was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it? Seems they are promising more of the same, but with aliens this time on the N64. They also highlight Tekken 3 for the PlayStation, saying it's got massive coverage. No surprise there, Tekken 3 was massive, everyone was playing that. There are smaller boxes showing screenshots of Body Harvest and Banjo-Kazooie, both N64 titles obviously, and another box about Tekken 3 characters. Then there's a bit about the Dreamcast, Sega's new console getting a first report, must be the hype building for that one. Everyone was wondering what Sega were going to do next after the Saturn. Looks like the magazine is covering all the bases, Shen 64, PlayStation, and even teasing the future with the Dreamcast. Good times for gaming back then, plenty to look forward to. This advertisement promotes a subscription to the Nintendo official magazine, using classic sales tactics like 3 free mags and save money. A year-long subscription offers 12 issues for the price of 9, with a UK cost of £26.50. The ad highlights the magazine's key selling points: N64 news, reviews, tips and free game guides, claiming to be the UK's biggest-selling N64 magazine. Subscribers are entered into a monthly prize draw for £150 of Nintendo kit, potentially including GameStar accessories. The cover features Banjo-Kazooie and mentions GoldenEye. The ad provides order details for the UK, Europe, and Airmail World, and includes a subscription form with payment options. The offer was valid until July 20, 1998. The next page is a proper blast from the past. It's all about official tips for the N64. They're even boasting that all their tips actually work, which is what you'd hope from an official mag, isn't it? There's a list of games they've got tips for on this month's issue, a decent mix of stuff. You've got your racers like Aero Gauge and San Francisco Rush, brawlers like Killer Instinct Gold and Mace, The Dark Age, and some more obscure ones like Fighter's Destiny and Mystical Ninja. GoldenEye's in there too, of course, and Diddy Kong Racing. All the big hitters really. They've got a section on WCW vs NWO, showing you how to do a baseball slide or suicide dive, which sounds a bit dramatic for a wrestling move, and a tip for getting weapons outside the ring in that game, baseball bats and chairs, always good for a bit of chaos. Then there's a bit on Gretzky 98, seems you can unlock old teams with a cheat, like Hartford and Quebec for the proper hockey nostalgics. And for Mystical Ninja starring Gomon, a tip on fighting all the bosses one after the other after you finish the game. Sounds like a right challenge. Finally, a quick mention of their tip service if you're stuck, and a page for High Scores Classic Magazine filler. Yeah, pretty standard tips page for a Nintendo mag back in the day, covering a decent chunk of the N64 library. This page highlights classic N64 game tips. It starts with a controller icon explanation, essential for understanding cheat codes and moves. DAO. NFL QB Club 98 gets a mention with a mirror-based cheat for unlimited downs, a slightly convoluted trick. GoldenEye 007 receives 2 tips: tank cruise control, allowing tanks to move autonomously, and a workaround to play as the same character in multiplayer, solving character selection arguments. Aero Gauge offers a unique unlockable, racing as the N64 controller itself, achieved by a specific time attack finish. Finally, a Forsaken level select cheat involves a physical pin badge, a less conventional cheat code. The article celebrates the diversity of these tips, with a clear fondness for GoldenEye. This page recaps classic gaming tips and cheats. For Mace, holding Z and pressing start on select characters unlocks fluffy bunny slippers. Killer Instinct Gold allegedly allows ultra-fast fighting with a specific button combo. Mortal Kombat Mythologies. Sub-Zero has an invincibility code, GTTBHR. Madden 64 offers a secret super team by creating and saving a player named Tiburon. In WCW vs NWO, tap the 3D stick to escape holds. Robotron 64 includes Game Boy mode and 4-way fire cheats. Star Wars. Shadows of the Empire lets you play as a stormtrooper with a specific name and control setup. Dark Rift reveals secret character Dimitron and its moveset. Finally, the page debunks the Luigi myth in Super Mario 64. This page offers tips for various N64 games. In Yoshi's Story, players can obtain Black Yoshi by finding a black egg in Torrential Maze, page 2, level 4, and White Yoshi by bursting a mystery ball in Poochie and Nippy, page 3, level 3. Wave Race 64 reveals how to ride a dolphin by performing stunts in Stunt Mode or Dolphin Park and holding down the 3D stick when selecting a player. Pilot Wings 64 details changing the time of day using waterfalls and a cave in the Rocket Belt level. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon provides a health boost in Compira Spa. San Francisco Rush includes an unclear code to get track select to win a circuit. Finally, World Cup 98 offers a guide to custom celebration sounds. This page shares classic gaming tips from back in the day. For ISS 64, the tip is to score goals by running at the keeper and pressing B. In WCW vs NWO, taunting with the 3D stick helps acquire special moves faster. Super Mario 64's tick-tock clock can be paused by entering at the top of the hour. GoldenEye 07's weapon cycling trick involves holding A to fire and then pressing Z to cycle weapons. Lastly, there's a request for help in Star Wars on Game Boy finding Obi-Wan Kenobi, and another for help with a guard in James Bond 007 on Game Boy's level 2. This issue of Your Tips revisits classic gaming problems. GoldenEye is featured prominently, with solutions for multiplayer character cheats, correct button presses, and a toilet game setup in Facility. Super Mario 64 gets a mention, offering a solution for getting a star in Snowman's Land using the Vanish Cap and a Koopa Shell. Diddy Kong Racing tips cover how to unlock T, complete adventures, and defeat Wizpig, understanding speed zones. Quake's All Weapons cheat, via password entry in debug mode, and Extreme G's bike/course code are also provided. The section encourages reader submissions with a Nintendo problem, call-out, and a form for questions and tips, hinting at even more GoldenEye content in the magazine. This page is a bit of a blast from the past, isn't it? It's one of those free envelope templates you used to get in the magazine, back when we actually sent things via post, can you believe it? It's got all the instructions for making it up. Cut along this line, fold along this line, you know the drill. It's clearly for sending in your tips and questions to the Nintendo official magazine cheats section, remember that? They've even put the address, EMAP Images Limited, Free Post Lon, 19172, London, E149YW, bit of a mouthful in it? And then right at the bottom in bold, it says, don't put anything in this envelope. Bit odd that, makes you wonder what they were expecting people to try and post if they had to put that warning in. Maybe just wanted to avoid getting spammed with empty envelopes. Still, a free post envelope can't complain, saved you a stamp back in the day when every penny counted for buying new games. This magazine section highlights reader-submitted high scores for N64 games. Your Scores features 4 challenges: fastest lap on Mario Kart, 64's Moo Moo Farm, completing GoldenEye, 07's military archives with 50 kills under 4 minutes with accuracy judged, the Spaceport Alpha Track in Diddy Kong Racing, and high scores on Yoshi's Story's Tower Climb level. The results section announces top scores: Danny Dunn for Top Gear Rally, Ross McInstray for Mario Kart, Greg Inatenko for Lilac Wars, and a group achieving perfect accuracy in GoldenEye's military archives. Readers are encouraged to submit their scores by photographing their TV screen with details and sending it in for a chance to win a Nintendo controller or Rumble Pack. This page delves into the world of GoldenEye 007 cheats, proper classic N64 stuff this. It's all about time cheat techniques and brags about showing us how. The contents lists a bunch of cheats we could achieve, like Turbo Mode, Invincibility, Big Head, Rocket Launcher, Double Grenade Launchers, Paintball, Fast Animation, No Radar, and Tiny Bond. Past Missions is a throwback to previous magazine issues, listing features on First Look, 64 Play, review, and multiplayer guides. The page then gets in to get these cheats and explains why you'd want them, because, well, cheats are fun, aren't they? Invincibility to breeze through, big head mode for a laugh, and fast animation, turbo mode and tiny bomb just because. The main walkthrough is for turbo mode on the silo level, agent difficulty, with a target time of 3 minutes, although it reckons under 2:30 is doable cheeky. It's a straightforward step-by-step with screenshots, guiding you through the level. Basically, follow the corridor, grab keycards, and leg it, shooting guards as you go. It mentions Auramov. Naturally, you can't miss him in silo. There are also little blurbs about some of the other cheats. Big Heads is described as making headshots easy. Paintball makes bullets leave paint splodges, a bit of harmless fun. Double grenade launchers is all about destruction, and no radar apparently makes deathmatch a million times better. Good times, GoldenEye cheats were the best, weren't they? Simple pleasures back then. This text details 3 classic cheat walkthroughs for the GoldenEye 007 game. The first, Invincibility, is on the facility level in 00 agent difficulty, with a 2:05 target time. The guide requires 10 steps involving navigating the level while avoiding guards and collecting items. Next, Big Head mode on runway, agent difficulty, boasts an easy 30-second completion time. This cheat only involves a few straightforward steps to reach the plane. Finally, the rocket launcher cheat on Bunker 1, 0 agent difficulty, has a 4-minute target time and involves a more complex 9-step process, including combat and data retrieval. The text highlights the game's replayability and the fun these cheats offered players. This guide offers walkthrough advice for GoldenEye 007 on secret agent difficulty. The first tip focuses on Surface 1, aiming for 3:30 to obtain the 2x grenade launcher. It involves a key, safe, and comms dish. The Dam level's paintball mode, 2:40 target, emphasizes destroying alarms while grabbing weapons. Finally, fast animation on Statue Park, 3:15 target, involves a rapid sequence with Valentin, a flight recorder, and Natalia. These tips aim to help players improve speedruns and acquire better weapons, perfect for showing off to friends. This page of the magazine carries on with the GoldenEye 007 tips, proper N64 gold this, showing you how to get a couple of cheeky cheats working. First up is no multiplayer radar, which is a laugh for deathmatches, makes it properly tense not knowing where everyone is lurking. It says playing without the radar is scarier, and means you got to learn new tactics, which is dead right, relies on proper sneaky play not just staring at the screen. It's for the frigate level on Secret Agent, and aiming for a 4:30 time. Then there's Tiny Bond on Surface 2, also on 0 Agent, and they reckon you can do it in 4:15. This one's all about getting Ickle Bond, purely for the giggles mind you. The walkthrough is step by step with pictures, showing you to go past the second crossroads and up hills, shooting cameras and guards for keys, all that standard Bond stuff. You're going through huts and comms buildings, planting bombs, all to get to the chopper and chuck a tracker bug on it. Classic Bond mission really, just with a tiny playable character. And lastly, there's a next month bit, teasing even more cheats coming, including infinite invisibility, slow animation, infinite ammo, and all weapons. Oh lucky us, they're saying. Sounds like they're promising some proper game-breaking stuff for the next issue then, should be a right laugh to mess about with those. This guide focuses on Quake multiplayer for the N64. It covers essential strategies for fragging, starting with power-ups like quad damage and invincibility, emphasizing their importance and the need to avoid hazards. Next, the guide highlights sideways strafing, for dodging attacks. It then details close-range weapon choices, the long-barrel shotgun, double-barrel shotgun, and nail gun. General tips include level knowledge and screen watching, due to split screen. The guide encourages players to learn maps and use their teammates' screen to their advantage. The guide includes sections on weapons, extra items, and advanced tactics. This guide to Quake 64 multiplayer delves into advanced tactics. It emphasizes predicting enemy movement and utilizing teleporters for ambushes and escapes. Camouflage your screen suggests using split-screen blind spots to hide your location. Rocket jumping allows access to new areas but inflicts damage. For long-range combat, the guide recommends the grenade launcher, rocket launcher, and thunderbolt. It cautions against using the thunderbolt in water. The levels section highlights specific map features like lava, teleporters, and water, found in locations like Place of Two Deaths, Claustrophobolis, and others. The guide concludes with encouragement to dominate opponents and a call for players to submit their own tips, typical of classic gaming guides. This page is all about Mystical Ninja Gomon on the N64, looking at a walkthrough guide which is pretty handy back in the day before the internet was really a thing for games guides. It's focusing on two areas, Zazen Town and Temple Castle. Zazen Town seems to be about getting batteries to power up Sasuke. The mechanical ninja sounds like a bit of item hunting and puzzle solving there, typical Goemon stuff. Temple Castle is about getting an ice weapon and a new hammer, and then facing a boss. The guide mentions lots of keys and platforms, so classic dungeon crawling, you know the drill. Be patient and you'll be alright, it says. There are step-by-step screenshots for both areas, breaking down what to do. Looks like the magazine reviewer reckons it's a great action adventure that really delivers, which is fair enough. Goemon games are usually a laugh. There's also a little mystical outings section listing previous issues with Goemon content, issue 62, 68 and 69 if you're a collector. Overall, a decent walkthrough page for anyone stuck in Goemon, back when these magazines were your best bet for help, especially for a quirky Japanese game like this. This page continues the Mystical Ninja Goemon guide, calling it Part 2, and joking it's laid out like a patchwork quilt, which it kind of is with all the boxes and screenshots. It kicks off with Goemon's magic, telling you how to get a strength power-up. Looks like you have to go through some throwing tests. Then it moves on to Mount Fear, showing you how to find the entrance and explore the area. Looks like you're heading through tunnels, hitting switches, and dealing with a winter setting. After that, there's a bit about the festival temple boss, saying you need tennis skills to bat plates back at a scary female robot. Sounds like a typical bonkers boss fight from this series. Finally, it talks about the witch at Mount Fear, explaining you need to pay her 300 ryo to power up your weapons, and that you can now break some stone blocks near her house. So it's more step-by-step guidance for Goemon, covering different areas and challenges. It's the kind of stuff you really relied on back then to get through these games, especially the more obscure Japanese ones like Goemon. This page continues the Mystical Ninja Goemon guide. It's all about getting Yae's mermaid powers at Kigon Waterfall, showing you how to get through that bit and gain those underwater abilities. It starts in Mutsu, then guides you to the waterfall itself, explaining how to read a sign as Yae and bash A to get up the waterfall, classic N64 button mashing. Then it goes into the mermaid robot Taisamba 2 fight, saying it's similar to the earlier Kashawagi fight. You need to grab her with R, pull her close, and then hammer A, and a plus B to punch her. Sounds like a right old button masher again. There's a section on the submarine level, calling it the cool underwater bit. Haha, typical. It mentions following arrows to a lift, going up a table for a map, and then finding a locked door and another lift with chop suey bowls. Always with the weird humor in these games. Finally, there's the water imp section about getting the miracle item. You gotta go back to Zazen Town, talk to Benkai, then a collector in a pond who wants cucumbers. To get cucumbers, you have to go to Bizen, get a key from a priest, go to a warehouse, then mount Nyogatake as Sasuke for a special jump, and pay the priest's son 800 ryo for the cucumbers. Sounds like a right faff, just for some cucumbers. Good old obscure Japanese game logic for you. The guide continues with endgame tips for Mystical Ninja Goemon. First, reach Peach Mountain Shoguns by navigating the snow stage, avoiding the lake, and entering the Yugo Stone Circle. This leads to a space warp. Next, rescue Onimitsu and the wise old man from a restaurant to power up weapons. Then, conquer the Shogun's palace, facing Rose enemies, and utilizing keys and platforming challenges. Finally, fight the spaceship boss by using Ryo for attacks, and employing grappling and punching. The guide teases a Luke Skywalker-esque space battle. The ending is kept secret but is described as a happy one, concluding the game. Bakos. Lassa. This guide from a gaming magazine details a walkthrough for the N64 game Forsaken, specifically focusing on the first level, Nuke. The guide, intended for easy mode, offers tactics and weapon information for the first 10 levels. It showcases primary weapons with brief descriptions. Nuke features a map with numbered points, a map key, and level information. The objective is to kill everything within 2 minutes and 40 seconds for medium route, or under 4 minutes for hard route. The walkthrough provides instructions for each numbered point, covering enemy encounters, pickups, and navigation through tunnels, emphasizing a speedrun element. It's a typical, basic guide for the time. This page moves on to more levels. Forsaken, we're looking at Knowledge Base and Biodome now. Knowledge Base is in Thebes, Egypt, and apparently it's more about using your noggin than just shooting everything, which is a change of pace. You've got to deliver a bomb to the middle of the level and blow the place up. The guide points out you'll need secondary weapons for shades and snub bots, and to watch out for lasbots in the tunnels. Standard stuff, pushing switches and going through tunnels to get the bomb dropped. Boring. Then we have Biodome, set in Montreal, Canada, which sounds like a much more action-packed level. It's a straight shootout with loads of mad action, they say. Ammo for secondary weapons is a bit tight, so you've got to use them wisely. The walkthrough is pretty simple. Clear out enemies like MEC Ton and Shadow Followers. Go through doors and tunnels. Nothing too complex. Gelbai. Lastly, they've got a section on secondary weapons. There's the MFRL, which is just a basic missile launcher. The Mug, which fires missiles rapidly. Pine Mines are your classic drop-and-forget mines. Scatter Scramble's enemy weapons, which is a bit cheeky. Solaris is a heat seeker for those pesky corners. And finally the Titan, which is basically a nuke for proper clearing out. All your usual explosive goodies for blasting aliens. This guide offers strategies for defeating 2 Forsaken bosses. Kill the Head, Metatank in Alaska, and Manmech in Babalas, Asia. Kill the Head provides a map and 7-step picture guide. Players are advised to experiment with secondary weapons against the Metatank and utilize the map to navigate the maze-like level, including finding hidden doors. It's a save point level, minimizing setbacks. Door. Manmech emphasizes conserving secondary weapons for the boss fight. The guide features a map and a 7-step picture guide, focusing on power-up acquisition and beam turret usage before facing Manmech in the assembly area. After defeating Manmech, players must activate a beacon and survive for 1 minute to complete the level. Both guides offer comprehensive advice for these challenging boss encounters. This guide details how to complete the 4 Uneasy Pieces level in Forsaken, a mission to collect parts of the Black Hole Gun. The level features a 10-step guide with accompanying pictures. Players begin by gathering a Polaris weapon, eliminating enemies at point 1, and then clearing chambers 1 and 2. The first gun piece appears after 20 kills. Further exploration involves underwater sections and defeating the aqua tank to obtain the remaining pieces. The guide also offers information on playable characters: Beard, Locusena, Phaetoid, Nimso Sin, Lajay, and Clark Culver, each with unique strengths and weaknesses. Finally, it lists the level's enemy types: Airmobile, Beam Turret, Hunter, Lasbot, MEC Ton, and Legs, detailing their weapons and abilities. Players are advised to increase brightness to see pickups. Kekar. This page features a couple of level guides for Forsaken, a game we looked at on the previous page. First up is Temple, set in Thebes, Egypt. The guide map suggests a bit of a maze, and the advice is to clear out all the enemies as you go, as they respawn, saving you from backtracking later. Fair enough. Seems like shields and ammo are plentiful, but weapons are scarce, so you have to make your shots count. The steps walk you through taking out specific enemy types, like Shades and Mug, charming names, navigating tunnels, and dealing with beam turrets and sus guns in a crucible area, before moving on to the Crystal Room. Next to it we've got Dreadnoughts, set in Babalas, Asia. This one's a boss battle guide. The Dreadnought is a big boss you chase around a circuit. The tip here is to hit him hard when he first appears, as he pauses at the door. The guide emphasizes staying behind him to avoid his homing missiles. Good advice. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of those. It's all about following the Dreadnought around the track anti-clockwise, grabbing pickups and using pulse turrets. They even give you 2 tactics to take him down: sticking to the inside or outside of the track to dodge his mines. Sounds like a proper old-school boss fight, relying on movement and weapon pickups to survive. Good solid tips for getting through these levels in Forsaken. This guide offers walkthroughs for 2 Forsaken levels. The Tube, set in a New York City subway, features underwater combat, a susgun, and a gauntlet of enemies leading to a boss fight against the spawn carrier unit. Expect challenges like respawning enemies, tanks, and beam turrets. The second level, Death to the Invader, takes place in Belfast, UK, and pits players against the boss Nutter. The guide suggests listening for enemy spawns, signaled by a whooshing sound. Players must protect matrix circuits while taking down Nutter by destroying his craft. Pine Mines are recommended. A secret hint about Uncle Wario is available on page 59. This is a full-page advertisement from Gameplay, a mail-order game retailer from the past promoting the Nintendo 64. The ad emphasizes price, choice, quality, service, and claims Gameplay is Britain's biggest for computer games. The ad highlights N64 consoles, with various bundles including popular titles like Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye, and Turok. A comprehensive list of N64 games available is featured, encompassing major hits like Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, and Perfect Dark, alongside lesser-known titles like Chameleon Twist. Gameplay also offered second-hand games, emphasizing a 10-part examination for quality. Accessories such as racing wheels, console carry cases, and a variety of joypads are advertised. The ad concludes with a nostalgic reminder of the mail order process, with an order form to be filled out and posted, a stark contrast to modern online shopping. This issue of Club Mario in Nintendo Magazine features reader letters and interactions with Tim and Dave. One letter discusses Duke Nukem 64's high score, with Tim praising it over Quake. Another reader critiques the magazine's Game Boy focus, while Dave defends it. A reader asks about the 64DD, and Dave offers a cryptic response about its potential. The magazine also features an Ultimate Warrior, created from various game characters. A Name That Game puzzle is also included, with clues referencing several N64 and Game Boy titles, including Banjo-Kazooie, Yoshi's Story, Superman 64, and Turok 2, confirming the focus on these platforms. This page features reader content typical of a classic gaming magazine. A reader's N64 Top 5, chosen by Chris Gibson, is dominated by familiar titles like Super Mario 64 and GoldenEye. The letters section covers various topics: World Cup 98 versus Is 98, the desire for a new GoldenEye-level multiplayer game, complaints about Nintendo game prices, and opinions on game graphics. A review of Quake 64 by Stephen Dolby highlights its graphics and Thunderbolt gun, awarding it a 94% score. Other sections include a humorous story about a Mario hammer and a birthday feature about a Nintendo 64 cake. Overall, it's a mix of reader opinions, game reviews, and light-hearted content. This page features a diverse mix of content. A Mario Mart section reviews various Nintendo merchandise, including a Mario beanbag, Shadows of the Empire cards, a Bomberman Badderman toy, a Doraemon alarm, a Duke Nukem figure, Tamagotchi toys, and character comics. Next, a brain strain quiz tests knowledge of various video games. The main feature is a pitch for a 3D shooter game titled James Bond vs. Mission Impossible, pitting Bond against Ethan Hunt in a battle to stop a GoldenEye-like satellite. The game features diverse weapons and promises to be a head-to-head showdown. Reader feedback includes opinions on the 64DD, WWF Warzone, PAL conversions of N64 games, game prices, and packaging quality. This page of the magazine features reader letters and feedback, starting with Club Mario. Readers discuss the upcoming 64DD, picture choices in the magazine, and the popularity of Nintendo 64 games. One letter criticizes the constant Gray Station, likely PlayStation, advertisements and game releases, with Dave agreeing that they don't compare to N64 titles, highlighting Mario Kart 64's multiplayer. The section also includes reader art. Mario's hit list offers a competition with questions like, is Banjo better than Super Mario 64? Finally, Mario's winner reviews FIFA 98 World Cup and ISS 98, with differing opinions on World Cup 98's quality. The page concludes with answers to puzzles and standard credits. This page promotes reader involvement with Club Mario magazine. It features a feedback form with a chance to win a Nintendo 64 game. Readers are encouraged to review the magazine, Nintendo and games, with the chance to submit game reviews following a structured template. The page also includes a My Game section, where readers can submit ideas for fantasy Nintendo games, focusing on creativity and game concept. Finally, it includes My Charts, where readers can share their top 5 favorite Nintendo games. The page concludes with an option for readers to opt out of receiving promotional information from the magazine. This page is the actual feedback form for Club Mario mentioned on the previous page. It's designed to be cut out and folded up into a free post envelope. Pretty clever, really. You can tick boxes to indicate what you're sending in, with options like Club Mario itself, presumably giving feedback on the magazine, You Review for game reviews, My Charts for your top 5 games, and My Game for your game ideas. There are instructions to fold along the dotted lines and stick it down. Right at the bottom it even says, don't put anything in this envelope. Which is a bit of a weird instruction. Maybe they just meant don't try and send in anything other than the form itself. Anyway, yeah, this is the response form to send your thoughts and lists back to Club Mario, proper old school interactive stuff. This page is a collection of giveaways focused on Nintendo products. The Great Game Away offers a Game Boy Pocket bundle with games like Wario Land 2. Toy Glory gives away Mario character beanbag toys, prompting a question about Yoshi. Plastic Fantastic features N64 cartridge cases, with a question on Banjo-Kazooie, calling all heroes awards dual heroes and accessories, asking about the game's Japanese publisher. Finally, For Your Sake gives away Forsaken copies and quizzes players about the game's bikes. Entry requires postcards or envelopes, with a phone number for purchasing the beanbag toys. Overall, it's a giveaway page with a range of prizes appealing to Nintendo fans. This catalog is packed with N64 and Game Boy nostalgia. The Game Boy Pocket camera and printer are featured, along with N64 bundles including a special edition gold controller with GoldenEye, Mystical Ninja, World Cup 98, and Yoshi's Story. Individual game deals, like World Cup 98, GT Club 64 Forsaken, and Weetrix, are also advertised. Further promotions include a free Mystical Ninja t-shirt, and a Yoshi toy discount. GoldenEye gets extra love with Tremor Pack and Rumble Pack bundles, while Mario Kart 64 and Wave Race 64 come with free mouse mats. A large selection of N64 games are listed, featuring classics like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario Kart 64. Merchandise includes Banjo-Kazooie soft toys, a Game Boy booster for TV play, and World Cup-related game offers. Accessories like colorful controllers, SharpPad Pro, SuperPad and stereo speakers complete the offerings. This advertisement from Excitement Direct highlights a range of gaming products from the past. While primarily focused on Nintendo, they also offered PlayStation gear, reflecting the console market's evolution. The N64 section boasts various steering wheels, rumble packs, cheat devices like Action Replay, and NES game imports. Game Boy also features prominently, with numerous games, original Game Boy bundles, including a free calculator, and the sleeker Game Boy Pocket. Accessories, such as cases and lights, were also available. The ad provides a nostalgic look at the extensive options available for N64 and Game Boy enthusiasts. This Nintendo news page previews Rare's 12 Tales, Conker 64, a 3D adventure aiming to rival Banjo-Kazooie. The game features Conker, a squirrel, in arcade-style platforming, and Berry, a chipmunk who solves puzzles with her dinosaur companion. The page highlights breathtaking graphics and hilarious heroes, while showcasing screenshots of Conker in various outfits and facial expressions. Beyond Conker, the page briefly mentions other N64 games, including Perfect Dark, Rayman 2, and Zelda. Conker offers single-player, a 2-player cube mode with an owl, and a 4-player split-screen mode described as chaotic fun. While the release date is unknown, the article suggests Conker 64 might be worth watching. This page is all about Rare's new game, 12 Tales, Conker 64, which, as they mentioned on the previous page, is meant to be a bit like Banjo-Kazooie. Look at that screenshot, you've got Conker the squirrel front and center, cheeky grin and slingshot in hand, looking proper cartoonish as they say. There are even sunflowers with faces, it's all very say. Rare, isn't it, Gotten say. They reckon it feels like a cartoon and the expressions on the characters change with what's going on. That's what Rare were always good at, making things look lush. Remember Banjo? They were masters of making the N64 sing. They're saying, Rare's done it again, which is a bold claim before the game's even out, but they usually deliver, don't they? Gee. And at the bottom, a little nod to Banjo-Kazooie's first review being on page 18. Of course they'd mention that, gotta keep the hype train going, comparing it to their previous hit. It all looks very bright and colourful. Typical Rare style really. Let's see if it lives up to the buzz when it finally appears. Perfect Dark, Rare's upcoming N64 title, aims to surpass GoldenEye, boasting eye-popping graphics and an engaging storyline. Set in 2023, players control Joanna Dark, a secret agent tasked with infiltrating the corrupt Datadyne Corporation and uncovering its alien secrets to save the world. The game promises varied levels, including underwater sections, and smarter enemies capable of tactical retreats. A significant upgrade in weaponry and gadgets is expected, featuring heat-seeking bullets and wall-destroying mines. Enhanced sound effects and complex level designs are also highlighted. Screenshots showcase alien antagonists, Datadyne's headquarters, and Joanna Dark in action, promising a high-quality shooter experience. With Rare at the helm, anticipation is high for this futuristic space adventure, set to release in early 1999. Jet Force Gemini, a new shoot-'em-up for the N64 from Rare, promises a classic Rare experience, a blend of cute aesthetics and intense action. Players take on the role of Jet Force Gemini to stop an evil space tyrant. The game features 3 main characters, Juno, Vela, and Lupus the dog, each with unique abilities for puzzle solving. It boasts open-world exploration elements, massive guns, large bosses, and hordes of enemies. Multiplayer modes, including co-op and deathmatch, are also included. The article highlights the game's colorful graphics, reminiscent of other Rare titles, and its potential to surpass GoldenEye. They are promising a faster, smoother experience with a compelling space-based plot and beautiful graphics. The article ends on a positive note, suggesting that the game will be absolutely brilliant. This page takes a look at Mission Impossible on the N64. It's being billed as a spy adventure from Infogrames, due out on the 1st of September. Sounds like they are showing off the very last level of the game, which is set in London's Waterloo station. Apparently our Ethan Hunt is in a bit of a pickle, framed for being a wrong'un and double-crossed by someone called Max. The first part of the level is a sniper section, which is quite neat. It seems Luther and Krieger, EXME agents, are hiding in the station roof and are supposed to be your snipers, protecting Ethan. They've got high-powered rifles and are watching through their scopes. The article shows some screenshots from the scope view. Bit of guidance being dished out too. Keep Ethan in sight, don't shoot civilians, you know the drill. Then it moves on to a section called Take the Train, where Max has scarpered onto a train. Classic villain move, right? Ethan needs to work his way through the train carriages, blasting baddies. There's a bit where he disguises himself as a train guard to get to the last carriage to face Max. Surprise, surprise, Max has planted a bomb. Typical. Boritane. Finally, the last section is on the train roof with Max's choppers attacking. Sounds like you need to collect rocket launchers and blast them out of the sky. All in all, looks like a pretty standard action game for the time. Hopefully it plays alright. This article previews the N64 game, Mission Impossible, focusing on a climactic level set at London's Waterloo station. The level involves several gameplay sections: sniping from a rooftop with Luther and Krieger, infiltrating a train to confront the villain Max while disguised as a guard, and battling on the train roof while dodging helicopter attacks and using rocket launchers. The preview suggests a blend of gameplay styles, anticipating a mix of action and stealth elements. The reviewer expresses hope that the game avoids common pitfalls of movie tie-ins and promises a full review in the next issue. This page showcases a couple of belters for the N64, Rayman 2 and Madden NFL 99. Rayman 2 is getting some coverage. It seems it's hopping over from the PlayStation, which is a bit of a surprise. Apparently, this limbless wonder is now on Nintendo, and they're billing him as a Sony defector. Bit cheeky that. The game's a 3D adventure, and the story sounds typically bonkers with robot pirates, magical soup, and saving mates. They're showing off some screenshots. He's made a fish buddy, there are bosses, and his face changes depending on his mood. Moody Rayman, who would have thought? It's set for late 1998 release. Day E. Then there's Madden, NFL 99. It's Madden, what more can you say? American football sim, e-sports, late 98 again. They're banging on about real teams and players, stunning visuals, and looks amazing. Standard Madden fare really. Looks like they've added a one-touch control system. Sounds like they're trying to make it easier for us Brits, who haven't got a clue about gridiron. Franchise mode is in there too, so you can pretend to be a dodgy manager. They reckon even football novices will love it. Well, we'll see about that. Screenshots show some in-game action, players jostling on the field, and John Madden apparently chips in with tips when you select new players. Useful, I suppose, if you're into all that. This magazine page previews several games. Rayman 2 is highlighted, showcasing new moves like climbing and swimming, along with friend-provided powers. Screenshots depict various environments, and the review hopes the 3D quest improves upon the PlayStation outing. Madden NFL 99 features John Madden's commentary and a Star Talk system for player insights, with a focus on realistic graphics. Fast News covers several titles: NASCAR 99, a Legend of Zelda game for Game Boy Color, and other GB titles like Spawn and Top Gear Pocket. Penny Racers, a mini-machine racing game, and Tasmanian Express, a Taz delivery game, are also mentioned. All-Star Tennis from Ubisoft promises dazzling animation. This page is about Space Circus for the Nintendo 64, looks like a preview piece. It's shouting about big tops, hundreds of characters, and loads of levels, you know, the usual guff. Apparently, it's set in the 32nd century, and Space Circus is the big entertainment show in the galaxy. But there's a new rival called Virtua Circus, so Starshot, who they call an ace juggler, needs to travel around and find new acts to keep Space Circus on top. There's a picture of a massive spaceship shaped like a circus tent, which is pretty bonkers looking, and some screenshots that show the game is all colourful and cartoonish. It mentions hundreds of locations to explore, and one of the screenshots is captioned, "Starshot ends up in the drink," which is charmingly vague. Then they introduce the cast of characters. There's Starshot himself, the hero juggler who uses stars as weapons naturally. Wolfgang von Ravel is the villain running Virtua Circus, described as a rogue. Willfall is a sneaky robot who nicks parts from other robots, a metal meanie. Willfly is Starshot's tame rocket buddy who carries him to new locations. And finally, Starcash is the ringmaster of Space Circus and a tubby green hologram. Bit of a weird bunch, but it's a circus in space, so what do you expect? Sounds like a bit of a quirky platformer, typical N64 fare from that era. Could be a laugh if you were into that sort of thing. Space Circus, also known as Level Best, is a 3D adventure game in development. The game features a hub world and several levels, including Primatron, a tourist trap world, Killer Expo, a weapons-focused planet, Tensons, a beast-infested holiday planet, Future Earth, controlled by Martians, Technomum, a robot-filled world, Virtua Circus, where you fight the villain, and Ultima Crash, a spaceship graveyard. Infogrames is developing the game, with a focus on colourful N64 platforming. The preview suggests potential, highlighting good characters and puzzles, but notes that the controls need work. Crave Entertainment is also bringing games to the N64, including Caesar's Palace 64 and Milo's Astro Lanes. Micro Machines 64 Turbo, an enhanced version of Micro Machines V3, is also in development by Codemasters, attempting to challenge Mario Kart 64. This page is having a go at previewing Fighting Force. Looks like another beat-em-up for the N64, developed by Eidos. They're trying to make a big deal out of it being level-based. Which is fair enough, most N64 brawlers were just arenas, weren't they? Apparently you can smash up loads of stuff in the levels to find power-ups and weapons. Seems pretty standard for the genre, to be honest. They're promising big weapons, loads of levels, and special moves, the usual guff. There are 4 characters you can pick. Hawk is your standard bloke, good all-rounder type. Then there's Smasher, the big muscle man who can pick up heavy stuff, predictable. Mace is supposed to be like Hawk but a girl, and she's got a gun. How original. And lastly, Alana, the quick one who's not as strong, relying on spin kicks. Gotta have the fast but weak character, don't you? They say the moves are simple, just hammering the A and B buttons. Well, it's a beat-em-up, isn't it? They mention fighting on subway trains and the like, and to watch out for low-flying helicopters and motorbikes trying to run you down. Sounds like a bit of mindless fun if you're into that sort of thing. The Fast News section previews several upcoming games. Top Gear Overdrive, a racing sequel, features interactive obstacles and a focus on 4-player mode. Capcom announced plans for Robotech, a Disney puzzle game, a 3D platformer, and a 64DD project, but confirmed Resident Evil 64 wouldn't happen. Space Race, a Looney Tunes kart racer, is slated for Christmas release with multiple tracks and characters. Conker's Pocket Tales, an action RPG, is coming to Game Boy. Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, a 3D sequel to the NES original, is also discussed. Fighting Force highlights its pick stuff up mechanic, allowing players to use objects and even enemies as weapons, alongside special moves for each character. The preview concludes with a cautiously optimistic assessment of Fighting Force. This page is focusing on a couple of upcoming N64 titles. First up is Hype, the Time Quest. Remember Playmobil? Yeah, those little plastic figures are getting their own game, a 3D adventure by Ubisoft, due early 1999. Apparently you play as Hype, a Playmobil knight who's been turned to stone, and needs to sort out an evil Black Knight. It's being pitched as having RPG elements and loads of sword fights and spells. The screenshots show a very blocky looking world, very N64, with castles and forests. One of the captions even jokes about one of the characters being too fat to fight, bit harsh. The mag seems cautiously optimistic, saying it might look kiddie, but could actually be a good adventure for RPG fans. Then there's Rugrats. Crikey, even the babies are getting in on the N64 action. This one's a 3D adventure from THQ, out in March 1999. Based on the cartoon, obviously. It's a 3D crawl-around, from a baby's eye view, with 20 levels. The screenshots are, well, they're Rugrats in 3D. One shows Chucky being chased by a chicken. Classic Chucky. The magazine's We Think section basically says, don't judge a book by its cover, it could be hilarious despite the dodgy-looking screenshots. Fair enough, I suppose, you never know with these licensed games. This page reviews 2 upcoming N64 games, Win Back, a third-person shooter with reactive enemies and free movement, and Harrier 2000, a jet fighter game with multiple missions. A skill shop advertises us N64 consoles for £140, with a range of game prices including popular titles like GoldenEye and Mario 64, and previews upcoming releases such as IS-98 8 and F-Zero X. The shop also offers imports and second-hand games. Other content includes a classified ad for a holiday camp and an advertisement for the magazine, boasting a large readership and encouraging advertising. Wipeout 64, a futuristic anti-gravity racing game, is coming to the N64. The game, previously popular on other consoles, features high-speed racing on diverse tracks like cityscapes and industrial wastelands. Players can compete in championships, single races, or 4-player split-screen mode, utilizing weapons for an edge. Screenshots showcase gameplay, including speed boosts and challenging track sections. The review emphasizes the game's intensity and detailed environments. Splitscreen, a dedicated section, highlights the 4-player split-screen mode, praising its thrill factor and accessibility, compared to other versions needing link cables. 2-player is also touted as incredibly fast. Overall, the review expresses excitement for Wipeout 64, developed by Psygnosis, a space racer-type game due out in November. This page is a full-on spread for Wipeout 64, picking up right where the last page left off. Proper exciting stuff. They've got a massive image dominating the page, showing off the yellow craft we saw before, and blimey, it does look fast even standing still. They are really pushing the 3D stick on the N64 controller. Reckon it makes the ship feel completely under your control. The text box down at the bottom left, under the ship, says "We think," and goes on about how Wipeout's coming along brilliantly, the controls feeling perfect, and the ships are totally responsive. They also say most of the lighting and special effects are still to come, and the game's already looking hotter, which is saying something based on this image. Then, over on the bottom right in a red box, it says next month, and promises to tell us everything there is to know about Wipeout 64, calling it our big game. So yeah, they are clearly proper hyped for Wipeout 64, and rightly so. It was looking like a real system seller back then, especially for those of us who loved a bit of futuristic racing. Can't wait to see what they have to say next month then. The preview features 2 N64 racing games. F1 World Grand Prix from Paradigm is a realistic racing sim, with 17 tracks, customizable car setups, and features like split screen, ghost races, and a challenge mode. Screenshots depict gameplay, though typical N64 blockiness is noted. Cruisin' World is the second game, offering a 4-player mode and expanded features over its predecessor, Cruisin' USA. It promises 14 new courses and new cars, with a focus on a global championship mode. Screenshots showcase drifting and track selection, with captions emphasizing arcade racing thrills. The games offer varied gameplay options suitable for either solo play or multiplayer fun. This article reviews racing and Game Boy games. World Grand Prix on N64 is praised for its realistic replays with TV-style camera angles. The Game Boy Fast News section covers several movie tie-ins, Yoda Stories, Small Soldiers, A Bug's Life, Mulan, and the ambitious 3D environment of Tweety and Sylvester. Cruisin' World on N64 is highlighted for its enhanced arcade action, including wheelies, flips, and flaming stunts, a step up from Cruisin' USA. The We Think boxes predict success for World Grand Prix due to its control and detail, and praise Cruisin' World's improvements. This page previews the upcoming Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time for the N64, a 3D adventure game planned for late 1998, with a month's release targeted for November 23. Nintendo is heavily advertising the game, though the release date could shift. A UK release is hoped for before Christmas or early '99. The preview highlights gameplay elements with screenshots, including Link exploring icy areas, climbing vertical shafts, and exploring a castle with Navi. A battle with a lava beast is also shown, hinting at magic use. The developers are aiming for a cinematic experience, utilizing black bars, short movie cutscenes, and character introductions. One screenshot shows Link meeting a knight in the Hall of Time. The overall impression is that this Zelda installment is going to be an epic cinematic experience. This page hypes The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, focusing on its special attacks, graphics, and monsters. It details the massive attack system, which utilizes 3D stick movements for spin attacks and magical upgrades, highlighting the novelty of a 3D Zelda game. Screenshots showcase Link's special moves, time travel, and his horse, Epona. The article acknowledges delays, but reassures readers of Nintendo's commitment to perfection. Fast News covers various N64 games. South Park 64, described as a 3D platformer. WCW/NWO Revenge, a wrestling sequel. The ultra-violent superhero game Bloodshot, and the inclusion of Tommy Hilfiger clothes in snowboarding games. It concludes with news of a multiplayer mode for Superman 64. Buck Bumble, a 3D action-adventure game for the N64 from Argonaut Software, puts players in control of a cyborg bee tasked with stopping the herd, a mutant insect invasion. The game features 20 levels with diverse environments like gardens, graveyards, and underground caves. Players utilize a radar and weapon upgrades to combat enemies, including armored transport beetles and mechanical killer pillars, all based on real insects but armed with lasers. While the game's premise is unique, it may not have been a system seller, but could offer a fun distraction with its quirky gameplay. It was released alongside other notable N64 titles like South Park and Superman. This page delves deeper into Buck Bumble. Seems like they are giving it a proper look in the news section. We've got a big, mean-looking robotic wasp staring us down. Proper sci-fi insect vibe going on. The text tells us these robotic wasps have laser stingers, nasty business, and they're after turning your buzzy mate into royal jelly, which sounds a bit grim, even for a video game. There's a screenshot of the game in action, looks like you're flying through some murky underwater area. Then there's another bit highlighting a massive stripy boss character. They don't seem to know much about it but say it looks awesome and they are eager to blast it. Sounds about right for a first impression. The We Think section gives a quick take on the game, saying if you liked Lilac Wars, Star Fox 64 to us and our American cousins, you'll probably like Buck Bumble. They reckon instead of being on rails, you can explore where you want, and the levels are massive with loads to see and blast. Bit of a bold claim comparing it to Star Fox, but we'll see if it lives up to the hype when we get our hands on it. This page is all about Earthworm Jim 3D. Blimey, they're bringing that wacky worm into the 3D realm, are they? It's shouting about crazy levels and slapstick action, which sounds about right for Jim. Apparently the story is bonkers as ever. A cow falls on Jim's head and smashes his brain, so now he's got to collect brain cells in his own mind. Sounds a bit like an excuse for some mental levels if you ask me. They're saying it's set in his twisted mind, across worlds based on fear, happiness, aggression, fantasy and childhood. Bit deep for Earthworm Jim, isn't it? They've even mentioned specific level names like Evil the Cat, Psychro, and even Bob the Goldfish are making an appearance. Looks like they're pulling out all the stops. One screenshot shows Jim striding into a new level looking for brain cells, and another has him going through a bath tap. Bath tap, eh? Typical Earthworm Jim, that. Corrabo. The reviewer seems to be highlighting the madness of it all, calling it a heroic worm, and talking about facing nightmares. It's definitely sounding like they are going for the same off-the-wall humor as the 2D games, just in 3D. We'll see if it works, won't we? 3D platformers were a mixed bag back then. Some were brilliant, some were right rubbish. But Earthworm Jim has always been a bit different, so maybe this one will be a laugh. Earthworm Jim 3D gameplay is being shown, highlighting the heroism level. Jim, armed with a basic blaster, will collect various weapons. The level features Jim jumping on TV buttons to gain brain cells. Jim's robotic suit turns him into a hula hoop if he stays still. Other bizarre elements include a muscle man with a TV head. The level boasts pig surfing action, where Jim rides a pig down rivers, dodging obstacles. Jim uses a pump pack fueled by Mexican beans and a pocket rocket. The preview suggests the game has funny jokes, wacky characters, and a crazy plot. The review hopes to improve game speed for a possible hit. Or Bomberman Hero on N64, developed by Hudson, is a 3D adventure game where the goal is to rescue Queen Million from the Wold's Empire. Unlike traditional Bomberman, it lacks multiplayer and focuses on platforming and exploration. The game introduces mean machines, vehicles like the Bomber Jet, Bomber Copter, Bomber Marine and Bomber Slider, used for traversing levels and solving puzzles. These vehicles offer diverse gameplay experiences, from navigating airborne islands with the copter to avoiding water beasts with the slider. The game features grenades, varied environments, and numerous boss battles. While missing the expected multiplayer, Bomberman Hero aims to deliver a solid single-player adventure. This page is all about Bomberman Hero on the N64. It's a full-page spread with a massive picture of Bomberman himself, looking a bit like he's about to take off with those rocket boosters, a green one and a yellow one, both firing flames. The headline is cropped at the top, just showing Man Hero, but it's clearly about that game we were just talking about on the previous page. Down at the bottom right there's a little box titled We Think, and it mentions that Bomberman Hero is already out in Japan. They're saying they're dead keen to get a copy at Nom Towers. That's where the magazine office is, I guess. They're promising to let us know if it's as good to play as it looks. Seems like they're trying to build a bit of hype for it before it hits the UK. Classic preview stuff, really. The picture itself is quite striking, very bright and colourful. Typical N64 era graphics. You can see the polygonal style. It's definitely trying to grab your attention on the page. This article previews Pokémon Stadium, highlighting its use of the 64 GB pack to bring Game Boy Pokémon battles to the TV in colour. It also discusses the game's touted awesome graphics and fantastic attacks. Fast News briefly mentions the game Space Bunnies Must Die, a new Nintendo console in development, and Nintendo's claim of 10 Game Boy games with built-in color support for the Game Boy Color, with Wario Land 2 mentioned as a likely candidate. E3 reveals include Interact's N64 peripherals like the Dex Drive and a glove controller. Chameleon Twist 2 gets its first screenshot, showing improved graphics and a cloud level. Finally, GoldenEye unsurprisingly wins Game of the Year, and Shigeru Miyamoto receives a Hall of Fame award. This mail-order advert from Special Reserve offers a nostalgic glimpse into the gaming world. For £6, members received a club magazine and a cheat book, with thousands of codes. The ad showcases a variety of games across platforms, including the N64 with titles like GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie, the SNES with classics such as Donkey Kong Country, and the PlayStation with hits like Tomb Raider and Resident Evil 2. Hardware offerings include a limited edition N64 bundle and controllers. The advert also promotes World Cup '98 and a Fantasy Formula 1 competition. Special Reserve also advertised their big club shops and a PC with top-of-the-line graphics, showcasing the trends of the time. This magazine is hyping its next issue, boasting it will be the biggest and best yet, covering every Nintendo 64 game imaginable. They promise real shots and easy-to-understand content, with guaranteed working tips and cheats, claiming you won't need another magazine. The issue will feature a review of Mission Impossible, including level, weapon, and gadget details. Updates on Jet Force Gemini and Legend of Zelda are also promised, along with a total test of Turok 2, labeling it a killer game. The issue concludes with previews of game guides and likely cheat codes. It's a standard next month page, designed to entice readers with familiar titles and promises. This page screams speed, doesn't it? We've got a massive feature on Fu-Zero-X, or P-Out-64 as they're calling it. A bit dramatic, but alright. They're promising to spill the beans on everything you need to know. What you actually do in the game, all the tracks, power-ups, and even multiplayer. As if anyone needed convincing about Zero-X, that game was ridiculously fast, proper white-knuckle stuff. ... Then there's the usual tips section. Looks like they're giving away a free tips book number 3. Probably chock full of cheats and secrets. They're showing screenshots for GoldenEye 007. Get every cheat. Naturally, everyone wanted those for GoldenEye. Forsaken is there too, busted wide open. Bit of a weird phrase for a game, but Forsaken was alright. That 360-degree movement was a bit mind-bending at the time. And lastly, GT64, or GT Club as they've called it, thrashing every course. Good solid racer that, not quite Gran Turismo, but still kept you busy. And the free tips book is even a Banjo-Kazooie guide. Can't go wrong with a bit of banjo. Right at the bottom there's something about Special Offers Club Mario, probably some mail-in thing. Those were all the rage back then. Standard magazine fare really, hyping up the big games and offering a bit of help with the tricky ones. This page is all about Yoshi, labelled Heroes number 2, a bit much perhaps for a green dinosaur. But there we are. They're focusing on his iconic tongue, claiming it's the longest in video games, and how it's used to swallow enemies and turn them into eggs. A bit of an odd process when you think about it. Apparently Yoshi made his debut way back in Super Mario World on the Super NES, which everyone knows was a proper classic. Then they run through some of his other appearances, listing Yoshi's Island, Tetris Attack, Yoshi's Cookie, all for the Super NES, as well as Super Mario World again. They also mention he pops up in Super Mario 64 if you collect all 120 stars. There's a piece on Yoshi's story on the N64, saying it just came out in April and got an 88% score from the magazine. They reckon it's a bit easy, but the point is to make Yoshi happy. Finally they touch on rumors about Yoshi being playable in the Super Mario 64 sequel, with Miyamoto suggesting fans will be impressed. We'll see if that comes to pass. Right at the top, there's a greatest hits rundown of Yoshi games. Yoshi's Story on the N64, Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Attack, Super Mario World all on the Super NES, and Yoshi's Cookie on both Super NES and Game Boy. This page is a full-page advert for Snowboard Kids on the N64, shouting "board crazy" at the top, which is a bit much, but hey, that's marketing. It's got that bold, colourful N64 style, loads of cartoonish characters snowboarding, all looking a bit manic. There's some text hyping up the game, calling it for gravity junkies who like slippery stuff, which I suppose is snow. They're banging on about nose-grabbing stunts, rocket launchers, and 4-player mayhem, and it's compared to Mario Kart on Ice, which is a fair enough shout to get people interested. Everyone loved Mario Kart 64. Apparently, N64 magazine gave it 88%, which isn't bad. It's advertised as being Rumble Pack compatible, which was always a nice touch back then, feeling those bumps. The price is £39.99, which was standard RRP for a new N64 game. Right at the bottom, it's got the usual Nintendo tagline about the N64 being the fastest, most powerful games console on Earth. Standard advert stuff really, trying to make it sound like the most amazing game ever. This page is an advert for Airborder 64, another one of those futuristic sports games that were kicking around on the N64. It claims, in 2064 ad, boarding has reached new heights, and it's got these anime-style characters flying about on what look like hoverboards, rather than snowboards, so they're really going for the future angle. It boasts 84% N64 Pro in the corner, which must be a review score from another mag back then, probably trying to get some credibility going before release. It's from Bitwave Software, and it says, "Coming soon." So this was definitely an advert to build some hype before it actually came out. It's got the big N64 logo, of course, letting you know where it's at. Looks like they're trying to tap into that extreme sports vibe that was popular, maybe a bit like 1080 snowboarding but more arcadey and less about realism. This page is all about World Cup 98 on the N64. It's shouting about a free tips book number 2 from the official Nintendo magazine, which is a blast from the past itself in it. Back when magazines actually came with freebies. This is for the N64 controller pack, which was needed for saves and that sort of thing back then. It's got that official France 98 logo with Footix the rooster mascot. Can't forget him, eh? The game itself, World Cup 98, was alright, pretty standard footy game for the time. You could have a laugh with your mates playing 14 players simultaneous, which was always good for a kickabout after school. It's got the awesome tag from Nintendo official magazine. They were laying it on thick back then, weren't they? Original Nintendo seal of quality as well. Proper old school marketing. It's basically telling you to score, beat your mates and lift the cup. Pretty much sums up the aim of the game, doesn't it? Nothing too groundbreaking here, just a solid footy game tie-in for the World Cup fever back in '98. This page is another belter for World Cup 98 on the N64. It's a proper full-page spread shouting, "Eat my goal!" Bit of a cheeky title that, but it gets your attention, doesn't it? They're pushing EO's footy game here, saying you can win the World Cup in the comfort of your own home. It's got a little yellow box highlighting what's inside, with ticks next to tactics, best teams, and winning tips, so it looks like the magazine is giving you the lowdown on all that good stuff for the game. Then there's a "we said," quote, "bit of a boast." It's much more than an update of FIFA. Road to the World Cup. This summer, head for World Cup 98. And bam, right next to it, in big red letters, score 93%. So they reckon it's a cracking game then, proper top marks for a footy title back in the day. It's all from Nintendo official magazine again, keeping up the hype for the footy season. Looks like they were really rating this one, saying it's not just a quick cash in on the World Cup like some games could be. 93%, that's a solid score, must have been decent. This page carries on the World Cup 98 lovin'. From the last one, it's headed starting out this time. Seems like they're trying to manage expectations a bit after giving it such a high score. They're saying World Cup 98 is one of the most sophisticated football games on console, which is maybe a bit strong, but alright. The magazine's writer is telling you not to expect to be a pro straight away, you know, like that's some kind of revelation. Apparently you need to learn the game, master the moves. Well, cheers for that tip, mate. They do mention the controls being quite complex with double presses and all that, which was probably fair enough at the time. They reckon skill is needed, obviously. There's a little screenshot showing the in-game footy action, looks alright for the N64. Down at the bottom, there's a quick tip box telling you to be ready for rebounds off the woodwork or keeper, because a lot of goals are scored this way. Groundbreaking stuff, eh? And right at the bottom corner, the Nintendo magazine logo to remind you who's bringing you this wisdom. So yeah, still pushing World Cup 98. Giving beginner advice after already telling everyone it's brilliant. Makes sense, I suppose. This page continues with the World Cup '98 guide. This time it's all about passing the ball. They're getting into the nitty-gritty now, moving past just starting out. They're still on about testing the opponent and finding the easiest routes to goal, which is basic football really, isn't it? Then it's all about one-touch passing, saying it makes the opposition less of a problem up the middle. Right, cheers for that tactical masterclass, lads. It tells you to press A while moving, and use the 3D stick for direction. Pretty standard controls for the time, nothing mind-blowing. There are 3 screenshots showing the passing in action. The first one is labeled, "Work your way up the pitch with the ball," showing players in midfield. Second is, "Look for the run from your best forward," bit generic. The last one is, "And deliver the perfect killer pass," showing a player about to shoot in the box. They're really spelling it out, aren't they? Down at the bottom is another quick tip, this time about rainbow kicks and flickovers, saying to be ready to sprint past the defender to recover the ball if you use them. Sounds like a recipe for losing possession if you ask me, but hey, maybe some folk were pulling that off back then. So yeah, still on World Cup '98, basic passing tips after all the talk of sophistication. Keeps things consistent, I suppose. This page moves on from passing and dives into team profiles in World Cup '98. Right then, getting serious are we? It explains that all the teams are rated out of 10 across 5 categories, and they've listed formations and play styles too. Apparently they've also picked out the most powerful players, which is a bit of a vague term, isn't it? Says to choose carefully, there's a lot at stake. Bit dramatic for a computer game, but alright. Tilling, there's a friendly team select bit showing England versus Brazil. A perfect matchup? It asks. Well, on paper, according to this magazine anyway. Then they get into the team profiles properly. For Brazil and England, both teams are rated a perfect 10 in shooting, speed, passing, defense, and overall. 10 out of 10 across the board. Really? Bit generous, isn't it? Brazil are down as 442. Flatback 4 formation, and England are 352. Both balanced for off-def strategy. For danger men, Brazil's got El Ronaldo, and Fen Romario, centre forwards naturally. England's got Beckham, right midfield, and a Shearer, centre forward. Fair enough choices, I suppose. Down at the bottom there's another quick tip, which is pretty obvious really. Basically says if you're good at the game and your mate isn't, picking a weaker team makes it fairer. Groundbreaking stuff. This page moves on to passing, specifically passing the ball, and they're calling it the old 1-2. Very football punditesque. It's all about the 1-2 pass, or pass back control as they're calling it. Classic footy move apparently. They've got 4 screenshots showing how it's done in World Cup '98. Tordu. Step 1 shows the player with the ball, then steps 2 and 3 are about doing the pass. They're telling you to hold down Z and R and pass A. Bit of a finger workout just to pass the ball, isn't it? Screenshot 2 says, the computer player takes the ball and runs with it. And screenshot 3 says, but you still have control of the first player. Right, so the computer does a bit of the work for you, very helpful. In Goja, screenshot 4 shows the final pass, and the text says when you're in position, press A, and the ball's passed back. Good for getting round keepers. So there you go, the secret to beating goalkeepers in World Cup '98 is a 1-2. Revolutionary stuff. Guy. Down at the bottom there's another quick tip, which suggests going into options, and switching on player names. Apparently this helps you spot your opponent's danger men, and also helps you see when your own star players have the ball. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense, if you don't already know who your star players are. This page is all about team profiles, specifically Germany and Italy. They've gone proper in depth here, looking at kits and team stats for both sides. Apparently, both Germany and Italy are top-notch, because they've rated them all 10s across the board for shooting, speed, passing, defense, and overall. Makes you wonder why bother playing if everyone's perfect. Liwa. Formation-wise, Germany is running a 352 with a sweeper system and a strong attack off-defense strategy. Their danger men are named as J. Klinsmann and Mimsama. Italy, on the other hand, are also 352 with a sweeper, but they're going for all-out attack. Their danger men are Baggio and G. Zola, proper legends back then, although maybe a bit past their prime in '98, but still. It's funny, isn't it? They make out both teams are identical stat-wise, but then tell you their tactics are different, so which is it? Still, good to know who the danger men are, I suppose, especially after that tip on the last page about switching player names on. Gotta watch out for those Klinsmann and Baggio blokes, apparently. This guide offers tips for attacking play and beating the defense in WC98. To evade defenders, it recommends 2 main moves. The Rocastle 360, executed by holding Z and pressing B to dodge standing tackles, though it leaves you vulnerable to sliding tackles, and laterals, performed by tapping or holding Z and pressing A, left, or tapping or holding R and pressing A, right, to dodge sliding tackles. A quick tip suggests using the long-distance tower cam with the radar switched off for improved player positioning awareness. The goal is to outsmart the AI defenders and create scoring opportunities, potentially to get past formidable players like Klinsmann and Baggio. This page is all about team profiles for France and Spain in WC98. Bit of a showdown really, how they match up, it says at the top. We've got the stats laid out for each team. Like comparing trading cards really. France is rated pretty high across the board, shooting 9, speed, passing and defense all 10, and a 10 overall. Blimey. They're going with a 452, flatback 4, strong attack apparently, with danger men being M. Desailly at centre-back and P. Legal in centre midfield. Polchu. Spain, not to be outdone, they've got 10 for shooting and defense, but just a 9 for speed. Cheeky. Passing is still a 10 and overall also 10, level pegging with France overall then. Formation is 433, flatback 4 again, balanced off defense. Their danger men on Kiko, centre forward, and Luis Enrique, right forward. So, Spain's got a bit more up front with that 433, but France are solid everywhere, all 10s. Bit boring really, but effective, eh? Seems like they're trying to get you to think about who you're picking, and how they might play. Good old days of strategy guides in magazines, before you could just look it all up online in a second. This section focuses on attacking play and beating the defense in the game. It covers the basics, using fakes and dummies to trick defenders, emphasizing the importance of practice and understanding distances. A controversial dive mechanic is detailed, encouraging players to feign fouls for free kicks or penalties, with historical examples provided. The nutmeg technique is explained, involving specific button combinations. Screenshots showcase in-game action, including a match with the German flag visible, and highlights the game's interface features, like the ball cam. A quick tip advises using radar and visual indicators for close-up camera angles. Overall, the text provides straightforward guidance for players on attacking strategies. This page profiles the Netherlands and Argentina teams, likely for a football game. The Netherlands are rated slightly higher overall, with superior defense and passing compared to Argentina, who lag in shooting and speed. Both teams use a 4-4-2 formation, but with different defensive strategies. Danger men for the Netherlands are Seedorf and Kluivert, while Argentina features Crespo and Simeone. The page also highlights a fake move, emphasizing its flashy nature and potential for tricking opponents. It describes how to perform the move with the controller and claims it will impress other players, though it acknowledges the challenge in mastering it. The writing style is somewhat playful and nostalgic for the older games. This guide provides tips for scoring in World Cup '98 on the N64. Since the game lacks obvious scoring sweet spots, the advice emphasizes opportunistic play. Key strategies include capitalizing on keeper rebounds, utilizing long shots, potentially with edited players, and mastering one-on-one situations. To score, watch the keeper's momentum and shoot the opposite direction, varying shot power with the B button. A quick tip recommends conserving stamina by only sprinting when necessary, as prolonged running drains energy. The guide offers basic but effective advice for players. The next page in this mag is giving us a bit of a team rundown, focusing on Mexico and Colombia in World Cup '98. Right then, team profiles it is. We've got a look at their kits, which are, well, pretty much what you remember from back then, slightly blurry and blocky, but you get the idea. For Mexico, they reckon their shooting is an 8, speed is a decent 9, passing and defense are both 8.5, and overall they're 8.5 as well. Formations are 443, with a flat back 4, balanced off defensively, and their danger men are listed as El Garcia up front and B Galindo in left midfield. Then over to Colombia, their shooting's a touch higher at 8.5, but speed takes a hit at 7.5. Passing is the same as Mexico at 8.5, but defense is a bit weaker at 8, and overall they get an 8. Formation for them is 442, also with a flat back 4, and balanced off defensively. Their danger men are C. Valderrama, of course, in centre midfield, and F. Esprilla, up front. It's all about how they match up, apparently. Seems like Mexico are a bit quicker, but Colombia might have a slight edge in attack with those danger men. Good to know if you're picking teams and trying to put those scoring tips from the last page to good use. This guide focuses on scoring goals in a football game using crossing and heading. The crossing section advises players to get the ball to the wings and whip it into the box for awaiting forwards. It's a straightforward tactic. The heading section emphasizes using headers to beat the defense, especially with players possessing high head accuracy. Instructions involve lobbing high crosses into the box and pressing a button on the controller to perform a header. The guide suggests aiming the header towards a teammate for a shot. The conclusion is a celebratory, "He scores, you grin." A quick tip recommends checking player fatigue at half-time, as tired players perform poorly. The language used throughout the guide is designed to be simple and easy to understand for the user. This page shows us some team profiles, clearly for a football game, pitting Romania against Yugoslavia. We've got a side-by-side comparison of the teams, with their national shirts on display, Romania in their yellow, red and blue, and Yugoslavia in a nice purple number. It's giving you the lowdown on their strengths and weaknesses before you pick your team. For both sides they've got the same shooting stat at 7.5, but then things diverge a bit. Yugoslavia are a bit quicker at 8 to Romania's 7, but Romania edges it on passing at 8.5 versus Yugoslavia's 9. Which seems a bit odd as higher is usually better, but maybe lower passing is better here? Defense is similar, Romania at 8.5, and Yugoslavia at 8. Overall, both teams are rated 8 out of whatever system they are using, perhaps out of 10 or something. Looking at formations, both are 442, with a sweeper system which was quite common back then. Offensive and defensive strategies are also mentioned. Romania are allowed attack, while Yugoslavia are balanced. Finally, they point out the danger men for each side. For Romania, it's G. Popescu and G. Hagi. Proper legends, those two. For Yugoslavia, it's D. Savicevic and N. Saveljic. All in all, if you're choosing between these two, it looks like Yugoslavia are slightly quicker and Romania are slightly better at defense, depending on what kind of match you fancy. This text describes a special tactic called the wingback run in a football video game. The tactic is designed to create attacking width when struggling to penetrate the middle. The guide breaks the tactic down into 3 steps. Initiating the run using a specific button combination, drawing the opposing team to one side to create space, and timing a pass to the wingback for a scoring opportunity. Screenshots illustrate the in-game view. A quick tip at the end advises users to utilize AI-assisted team management for automatic substitutions. Overall, it's a basic but helpful tactic for players looking to improve their offensive strategy. This page is all about team profiles, specifically for Russia and Croatia. Looks like from a football game. They're breaking down the teams with proper stats. Shooting, speed, passing, defense, and an overall score. Both teams have the same shooting and speed at 7 and 7.5 respectively, but Russia edges it on defense with an 8 compared to Croatia's 7. Passing is where they differ again. Russia's got a solid 7 while Croatia is at 6.5. Overall, Russia's rated 7.5 and Croatia's 7. Formation-wise, Russia's going classic 442 with a sweeper system, remember those? Croatia is a bit more modern with a 352. Off-def for both is listed as balanced, so no surprises there. Danger men are flagged up too. For Russia it's 8. Isimutenkov and 13. Ichugalnov. And for Croatia it's 18. D. Suker and 20. Zeb Boban, some proper names in there. Down the side, there's a bit on special shots, volleys, flying volleys and bicycle kicks. Tap, then hold B while the ball's still in the air. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Tap the button, then press it again quickly and hold it. Yeah, right, practice is right, you'll need it to get those bicycle kicks down. So, team profiles and fancy shots, standard footy game stuff really. This guide details special tactics for a football game, likely FIFA 64, focusing on attacking play. The through run involves using the Z and R buttons with kick down to trigger a diagonal run behind the defense by a player with a tactical indicator. It's aimed at putting the player one-on-one with the keeper. The guide also covers adding spin to shots, with Z for left spin and R for right spin, advising that more spin makes it harder for the keeper. This tactic is applicable to corners, free kicks, and even goal kicks. Add R for right spin. Finally, it includes a tip on substitutions. Kick the ball out of bounds to have time for a player change, a common practice to bypass the often cumbersome game mechanics of the time. Overall, the advice is standard for the era, but possibly useful for players. The next page is all about team profiles, specifically for Denmark and Chile in what must be FIFA 64 then. Going by the tactics we just looked at, it's showing us how these two sides stack up against each other. For Denmark, they reckon their shooting is decent at 6.5, speed is a 7, passing and defense are both 7.5 and overall they get a 7. They're playing a 532 sweeper system formation, strong attacking, and their danger men are listed as B. Laudrup and M. Molnar, both centre forwards. Then for Chile, they've got the same shooting at 6.5, but slower at 6 for speed, passing is the same at 7.5, but defense is lower at 6.5, and overall they're rated 6.5. Chile are set up in a 442 feet flat back 4, strong defense, and their danger men are Misalas and E. Zamorano, again both centre forwards. So, looks like Denmark are a bit more well-rounded and attack-focused, whereas Chile are leaning more towards defense, but both seem to rely on their strikers to do the business. There are also little in-game screen grabs showing off corners and goal kicks, probably illustrating some of the stuff from the last page about spinning the ball. This guide offers tips for FIFA 64's special tactics. For attacking, the attacking press involves holding Z and R, then pressing A, which sends players upfield to pressure the opponent. Use it sparingly as it tires players. It's recommended as a last resort when losing. Defensively, avoid excessive sliding tackles, as they lead to fouls on higher difficulties. Instead, use a defensive formation and focus on intercepting passes or using numbers to defend. Standing tackles, B, are safer in the box. A quick tip warns that increasing aggression leads to more sliding tackles, but increases the risk of red cards. The overall advice is standard tactical fare for FIFA 64, offering solid tips for improvement. This review analyzes the FIFA 64 team profiles for Norway and Sweden. Norway employs a defensive 4-5-1 formation with all-out attack, off/def strategy, and balanced stats, 6.5 across the board. Key players are Fjortoft and Ostenstad. Sweden utilizes a 4-4-2 formation and the same all-out attack strategy. They have slightly better stats, 7 for shooting speed and defense, 6.5 for passing and overall. Sweden's key players are Vern and, most notably, Henrik Larsson. The author suggests Sweden has a slight advantage due to their superior stats and the inclusion of the notable Lars Samuelsson, making them the potentially better choice for a casual game. This guide focuses on tactical gameplay in World Cup '98 for the N64. The defensive play section details the risky offside trap, activated by holding Z and R, then pressing CRE down. It's a high-risk, high-reward maneuver best used in desperate situations. Tactical play emphasizes strategic formation changes. The CPU adapts, so players should adjust formations mid-game via team management. Suggested formations include IGM-1, balanced 442, IGM-2, defensive 541, and IGM-3, offensive 343. A quick tip advises letting the AI control the ball to focus on positioning. The guide highlights the importance of both defensive tactics and strategic formation adjustments for success in the game. This page analyzes the Portugal vs Bulgaria matchup in World Cup '98 for the N64. The comparison uses stat tables for shooting, speed, passing, defense, and overall ratings, with Portugal scoring a 6 overall and Bulgaria a 5.5. Portugal employs a 532 formation, while Bulgaria uses a 433. Both teams are set to all-out attack. Key players are highlighted. Portugal's Paige Sousa and M. Rui Costa. Bulgaria's Yuri Lechkov and H. Stoichkov. The review also offers in-game strategy tips for formation changes using Z, R, and B buttons based on the opponent's tactics, advising an offensive approach if the other team retreats and defensive if they attack. This page from a World Cup '98 guide focuses on showing off skills. It details how to score flashy goals using rainbow and bicycle kicks, Z plus cup, then tap/hold B, and how to get past defenders. A cheeky tip involves sprinting towards the keeper, cleft, to force him to drop the ball. Another tip covers using the flickover, R plus key down, to beat a player. The page also includes a quick tip about intercepting computer throw-ins and an ultimate challenge. Unlock classic matches by winning on easy mode, but for a real test, play on world class with the fastest speed. The next page moves on from solo skills and is all about multiplayer in World Cup '98. It's got a big title, Multiplayer Tips, and 5 points to help you thrash your mates after you've already lifted the World Cup against the computer. Bit cocky, aren't we? The tips themselves are pretty basic stuff, really. Number 1 is move the ball quickly to one another. Profound, eh? Then it suggests using the B button to switch players quickly, which is standard in footy games. Tip 3 is about not over-dribbling and using your mate if he's in space teamwork. Who'd have thought? Next up is attacking space to meet the ball before your mate actually passes it. And finally, teaming up to close down opposition players. Solid advice, if a bit obvious. Worribee. The picture shows 4 blokes, on a sofa, looking very intense, each with their N64 controller. It's the classic mate versus game mate setup for a bit of World Cup 98 action. Good times. Essentially the page is telling you to play as a team and pass the ball, which even your nan could probably figure out, but hey, it's there in black and white. This page is all about keeping track of the World Cup 98 groups, specifically Group A and B. You've got your little team shirts there, classic pixelated kits, for Brazil, Scotland, Morocco and Norway in Group A, and then Italy, Chile, Cameroon and Austria in Group B. It's handy for reminding you who's who, especially if you're trying to recreate the tournament with your mates on the N64. They've listed all the fixtures for each group with dates, so you know when Brazil versus Scotland or Italy versus Chile should be happening in your own little made UP tournament. Beneath each group's fixtures is a results table, ready for you to fill in wins, draws, losses, goals for and against, and points. Proper old school chart for keeping score, none of this fancy online stuff back then. Retete. There's also a quick tip at the bottom, advising you to watch out for the one-touch passing, saying it can be a bit sensitive. Apparently, you need to be careful not to press the 3D stick mid-pass or you'll send the ball in the wrong direction. Solid tip for World Cup 98, that passing could be a bit fiddly if you weren't paying attention. Page 26 of the mag, classic Nintendo official. This page of the magazine continues the World Cup 98 theme, focusing on Groups C and D. Group C features France, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, and Denmark, while Group D includes Spain, Nigeria, Paraguay, and Bulgaria. The page displays the pixelated team kits and detailed match schedules for each group, listing dates and pairings like France versus Denmark and Spain versus Nigeria. Blank result tables are provided for users to record scores, wins, losses, and points. A quick tip offers defensive advice: let the striker come to you. The page, a part of the magazine, aims to help players prepare for the game. This page carries on the World Cup 98 vibe, moving on to Groups E and F. So after having a gander at Groups C and D on the previous page, now we're looking at the pixelated kits and match schedules for another couple of groups. Group E's got Holland, Belgium, South Korea and Mexico battling it out. Then Group F features Germany, USA, Yugoslavia and Iran. You've got the dates and fixtures listed out, like Z's, Korea versus Mexico, and Germany versus USA, proper old school chart style. Just like the last page, there are empty tables underneath each group for you to scribble in the results as they happen, and a reminder that the top 2 from each group are through to the next round. And there's another one of those quick tips at the bottom. This time it's about timing your jump in a high ball situation. Riveting stuff, really groundbreaking tactical insight there for young Nintendo fans. This page continues the World Cup action, moving on to Groups G and H. So, after wading through the kits of Groups E and F, we're now treated to the shirts and match schedules for these groups. Group G throws Romania, Colombia, England and Tunisia into the mix. Group H sees Argentina, Japan, Jamaica, and Croatia locking horns. Again, you've got the match dates and fixtures, like England versus Tunisia and Argentina versus Japan, laid out in that classic results chart style. Just like the last page, there's empty tables under each group so you can keep tabs on the scores and points, plus a reminder that it's the top 2 teams from each group that progress. And down at the bottom, another pearl of wisdom in the quick tip box. This time it's about shooting from inside the 18-yard box for a better chance of scoring. Groundbreaking stuff as always from the magazine. This page moves on from the group stages and dives straight into the knockout rounds of the World Cup. Classic stuff from back in the day. We've got the second round and quarter-finals laid out in a results chart, just begging for you to fill in the scores and winners. The second round section is all about the winners of each group playing against the runners-up from other groups. Game 1 on Saturday the 27th of June pits the Group A winner against the Group B runner-up, and it runs right through to Game 8 on Tuesday the 30th of June, where the Group H winner takes on the Group G runner-up. It's all neatly set out, proper old-school tournament bracket style. Then, we jump into the quarter-finals. These are spread across Friday the 3rd of July and Saturday the 4th of July. Game 1 sees the winner of second round Game 1 facing off against the winner of second round Game 4, and so on. It's all building up to the final games. Dreckery. Down at the bottom there's another quick tip box. This one's about corners. Apparently they're a bit tricky, so the magazine reckons you should just blast the ball low and hard. Solid advice, maybe a bit obvious even back then, but hey, every little helps. And of course, the Nintendo logo is there, letting you know where this wisdom is coming from, your trusty Nintendo magazine. This page takes us right into the business end of the World Cup, the semi-finals and finals. It's another results chart, this time for the absolute deciders, proper nail-biting stuff. Up top we've got the semi-finals, Game 1 on Tuesday the 7th of July, and Game 2 on Wednesday the 8th of July. You'd scribble in the teams playing and who won each game, naturally. Below that is the third place playoff, set for Saturday the 11th of July. For the semi-final losers, a bit of a consolation prize for someone. And then, the big one, World Cup final on Sunday the 12th of July. This is where the Game 1 winner plays the Game 2 winner to decide who lifts the trophy. Speaking of which, smack bang in the middle of the page is a massive picture of the World Cup trophy itself, all gold and shiny. At the bottom, it just asks, World Cup 98 winner is, with a big blank space to write in the champions. Dead simple, everything you need to track the final stages of the tournament. Classic magazine filler really, but back then, these were gold dust for keeping track of it all. This page is all about a freebie tips book. Looks like it's bundled in with the July issue of the Nintendo magazine. Slap bang in the middle there's the Nintendo magazine logo. You couldn't miss that bright red. Above it there's a picture of what looks like a France 98 football shirt. Makes sense given all the World Cup stuff we've been seeing. It says this tips book is free with the July mag, and then all the usual copyright blurb at the bottom mentioning FIFA, ISL and Electronic Arts. Looks like a little extra something for footy fans who are also men's 64 gamers, which, back then, was probably most of us.